Chapter 5732. Greetings, Patriarch. The team quickly got down from their beasts and bowed, respectfully. At the same time, a man walked over. This man was wearing dark armor and had a powerful aura. He was handsome and his eyes were as vast as the stars. He looked at Luo from time to time. Elder Luo nodded. Then he smiled at Lin Xian and said, Lin Gongzi, this is the elite of our family. This one is a genius among geniuses. His name was Luo Tianyu. Tianyu, this is Lin Gongzi. He is an honored guest of our Luo family. Lin Gongzi, honored guest? Luo Tianyu was surprised. His deep eyes looked at Lin Xian. When he saw that Lin Xian was only a 6-crown king, his eyes were filled with disdain. Same level. He had never lost in a battle of the same level. What qualifications did such a person have to be an honored guest of their family? Of course, the patriarch was here, so he couldn't say anything. He could only nod slightly as a greeting. Lin Xian could naturally feel the hostility in the other party's eyes. Although it was hidden very well, it couldn't escape his Rinnegan. Looking at the other party's identity and 6-crown king cultivation, he should be an important figure of the Luo family. And the other party looked at Luo with a trace of greed. It seemed that the other party was hostile to him. It was because of Luo. Lin Xian didn't say anything. He was just a passerby here. His important mission was to find the wordless heavenly steel. He didn't know if the Luo family could give him some clues. Lin Gongzi, please. Luo smiled and led the way. The group of people got on the war beasts and rushed away. These were all powerful beasts with the aura of death. However, they posed no threat to Lin Xian. In fact, when Lin Xian climbed onto the battle beast's body started to tremble slightly. It was obvious that it couldn't withstand Lin Xian's strength. Lin Gongzi. Luo walked over again and walked side by side with Lin Xian. From time to time, she would introduce something to Lin Xian. That sweet smile melted the surrounding darkness. Upon seeing this sight, Luo Tianyu's face darkened and killing intent flickered in his eyes. Finally, the group arrived at the Luo clan. Outside the dark forest, there were many cities. Every city was a family. These clans were very powerful, and one of them was the Luo clan. Seeing that their clan leader had returned, the people of the Luo clan were very happy. They quickly opened the city gates to welcome them. When they found out that they had brought an honored guest with them, they were even more astonished. In the evening, the Luo family held a banquet to welcome Lin Xian. Lin Xian wanted to gather some information from the Luo clan and see what had happened in the Earth domain in recent years. Are there any clues? After 3 rounds of drinks, Luo Tianyu stood up again. Holding a bronze wine cup, he walked over and said, Lin Gongzi, right? I heard that you're a peerless genius. I wonder how powerful you are. Would you like to spar with me? Hearing this, Elder Luo's expression changed. He said, Tianyu, you must be drunk. Lin Gongzi is our honored guest. Tianyu smiled and said, I'm not drunk yet, clan leader. Since Lin Gongzi is a peerless genius, I naturally have to ask him for advice. Only the most powerful martial arts spar can help me break through again. Lin Gongzi, would you give me face and spar with me? Hearing Luo Tianyu's offensive words, many people in the hall had different expressions. Some supported Luo Tianyu. The elder immediately smiled and said, Yes, I heard that Lin Gongzi came from the outer universe. I wonder how powerful the geniuses outside of hell are. We've never seen them before. I want to broaden my horizons. Someone laughed and said, Maybe he's not a genius. He just wants to come to the Luo clan to cheat us. Voices came one after another. Lin Xian put down his wine cup and said with a smile, Oh, are you challenging me? Why, don't you dare? Luo Tianyu took a step forward, and the law on his body erupted. It was the aura of hell, and it was extremely terrifying. The temperature in the main hall dropped, Even many of the elders sucked in a breath of cold air. Luo Tianyu was too extraordinary. He could already give them pressure now. It would probably take him a few years to become the second master of the Luo clan. Of course, he was only second, because the first master was even more terrifying. However, he was not in the clan. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian shook his head and sighed. Forget it. For Elder Luo's sake, I won't do anything to you. Bow and apologize, and I can spare you this time. The surrounding elders were stunned. What does he mean? Spare Tianyu? Is he looking down on Luo Tianyu? Sure enough, Luo Tianyu's face darkened, and a fierce killing intent appeared in his eyes. Spare me? You? Are you qualified? Boy, if you're a man, come out and fight me. Luo Tianyu's killing intent became even more terrifying. It formed a claw of hell suspended in the air, and it seemed like it would fall at any time. Luo Tianyu, don't go too far. Luo said, how can you attack Lin Gongzi? Hearing this, Luo Tianyu was even more furious. Even Luo was protecting him. Die. With a furious roar, the demon claw in the sky instantly slammed down. The black claw carried an extremely strong aura of death, and it covered the sky and earth. It's over. This kid is dead. Yes, under this claw. Even 6th Crown King of the same level would not be able to withstand it. If this kid didn't have the ability, he would probably end up very miserably. Countless exclamations sounded. Luo also exclaimed, wanting to ask for help. However, Luo was too late. The claw of hell arrived in front of Lin Xian. It slammed down fiercely. Humph, die. Luo Tianyu revealed a sinister smile. Buzz. At this critical moment, Lin Xian waved his sleeve, and a sword aura flew out. It was like a supreme dragon baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. In an instant, it tore the claw of hell apart. Moreover, the dragon claw slammed down on Luo Tianyu's body. Luo Tianyu looked as if he had been struck by lightning. His huge body was covered in cracks. With a boom, it was torn apart. He had lost, and he was severely injured. He fell to the ground, screaming crazily. The sword, Aura Dragon in the sky, swooped down. No. Luo Tianyu's eyes were filled with despair. Stop. The surrounding elders also shouted angrily. The Luo family patriarch stood up. He said, Lin Gongzi, please have mercy. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the sword Aura Dragon disappeared into the void. He raised his wine cup and said, I already said don't challenge me, because you can't bear the consequences. Luo Tianyu was so angry that he vomited blood. His broken body healed with difficulty. However, there were still some cracks. It wasn't hard for him to imagine. He was scared out of his wits. The other party's strength was so terrifying. The elders' expressions changed drastically. He defeated Luo Tianyu in one move. This young man's strength was really too shocking. It was completely beyond their imagination. They didn't dare to take advantage of their seniority anymore. They all stood up, raised their wine cups, and walked in front of Lin Xian. Lin Gongzi, I admire your strength. Let's toast to Lin Gongzi. Chapter 5733. Thank you, Lin Gongzi, for being merciful. Elder Luo bowed deeply as well. After all, Luo Tianyu was the second genius of their family. As for Luo, she was even more impressed. This was a true peerless expert. The previous Luo Tianyu was too weak. She was not interested in him at all. This person might be able to compete with her brother. Her brother was the #1 master of the Luo family. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He had shocked these people with his small show of strength. It seemed that it would be easy for him to gather information. Sure enough, Lin Xian mentioned that he wanted to gather information about hell. Luo agreed immediately and invited Lin Xian to stay at the Luo family for a few more days. Lin Xian was surrounded by everyone's attention. On the other hand, Luo Tianyu was defeated. He was helped down by the guards of the Luo family and returned to his villa to rest. Damn it, Luo Tianyu roared in anger. He had lost all his face today. Originally, he wanted to embarrass Luo Tianyu in front of Luo Luo. This way, Luo Tianyu would not be able to compete with him. But he did not expect that he would be the one to lose face. And he was defeated. He was unwilling to accept it. The next day, Luo Tianyu arrived at the main hall of the Luo family leader early in the morning and asked for an audience. Elder Luo said, "You're seriously injured. Why are you here instead of recuperating? Go back and recuperate. You can talk about it after you've recovered. Are you lacking any healing elixirs? Don't worry, I'll get someone to send it to you. I won't let you have any sequelae." Elder Luo took good care of Luo Tianyu. He even treated him as his grandson. He was thinking of going to Luo Tianyu's mansion after he was done with his business here. He wanted to see how Luo Tianyu's injuries were. Luo Tianyu said, "Thank you for your concern, Patriarch. I don't lack elixirs. I'm here today for something else." "What is it?" The Luo family leader was surprised. Luo Tianyu said, "I'm here to propose to Luo Luo." Elder Luo sighed. "Tianyu, you're the second genius of the family. I have high hopes for you. Your future is bright. Luo Luo is my granddaughter. I hope you can be together and strengthen the Luo family. However, feelings can't be forced. I can't make decisions for Luo Luo. But if Luo Luo, I have no opinion. But I don't." Luo Luo walked out from the side hall and said, "Tianyu, I'll make it clear to you, and I have always treated you as my brother. We can't be partners. Is it because of you, Luo Luo Luo?" Luo Tianyu roared madly. "You haven't looked at me since he came." Luo Luo frowned. "Brother Tianyu, you're thinking too much. This has nothing to do with young Master Lin." Luo Luo also said, "Tianyu, don't think too much. Rest well first." Elder Luo ordered the guards to escort Luo Tianyu back to his residence. And then he sighed. "Damn it, old man. Since you don't want to give Luo Luo to me, don't blame me for being rude." Luo Tianyu returned to his mansion. His eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. No matter what, he had to get Luo Luo. No matter who stood in his way, he would kill anyone who stood in his way. Since that old man didn't know what was good for him, he had to use his own method. When he thought of this, his eyes turned red. Then, with a sway of his body, he quietly left the mansion. He flew all the way to another city. This city was even scarier. The dark netherworld stone emitted a terrifying light. Around the city, the water of the yellow spring surged. White bones could be seen in it. It was terrifying. "Who are you?" Two white skeletons appeared in the water of the yellow spring and shouted coldly. "I have important news to report to the Yellow Spring sect. It's about Oxhead and Horseface." Hearing this, the two skeletons were stunned. "Who are you?" "Luo Tianyu of the Luo family. Come in." At this moment, a loud voice sounded in the dark city. The two guards respectfully pushed the door open. In front of them, the gate of the dark city opened. Luo Tianyu's figure flashed and walked in. About half a day later, Luo Tianyu came out. There was a cold smile on his face. "Old man, this is what you get for not choosing me." He returned to the Luo family and pretended that nothing had happened. However, 2 days later, the guards of the Luo family returned in horror. "Patriarch, something bad has happened. The Dark Army is here." The alarm sounded throughout the city of the Luo family. In the city, countless disciples and elders of the Luo family were awakened. They rose into the air. What happened? Suddenly, the sky darkened, the earth trembled, and endless cracks spread. A terrifying pressure enveloped the city as if dark clouds were pressing down on the city. Someone was attacking. Moreover, it was a powerhouse, an endless number of powerhouses. The elders of the Luo family looked into the distance. They gasped, and many of their scalps went numb. Outside the Luo family, there were 3 streams of yellow springs surging in the sky. Each stream was hundreds of thousands of meters long and swept across the world. In the water of the yellow spring, there was an endless dark army roaring ferociously. It made one's scalp go numb. The 3 streams of yellow spring covered the entire Luo family. There was an army of 100,000 dark soldiers. An elder of the Luo family trembled in fear. These are people from the dark hall of the Yellow Spring sect. How is that possible? The other young disciples all went crazy. We've never offended the Yellow Spring sect. The Yellow Spring sect was extremely terrifying. It was a behemoth near the dark forest. The Luo family was also terrifying. However, compared to the Yellow Spring sect, it was not worth mentioning, because the Yellow Spring sect was a subordinate sect of the Yellow Spring Great Emperor. Its background was simply shocking. No matter how powerful the Luo family was, would they dare to fight against the sect of a great emperor? It was impossible. Although the Dark Hall was only one of the halls of the Yellow Spring sect, it was not something they could provoke. Luo hurriedly gathered the elders. They flew up and arrived at the city wall. Looking at the army of darkness that covered the sky and the earth outside, they moved quickly. At the same time, they said, "How did the Luo family offend the Yellow Spring sect? Please tell us." The masters of the Dark Hall, the Luo family, will make amends. Luo and the others were also pale. Lin Xian was there as well. He narrowed his eyes as he looked at the 100,000 experts that covered the sky. He felt that these people did not come with good intentions. Luo Qianyu looked at this scene. He sneered. With a sway of his body, he rushed to the top of the city wall. Later, he was an important witness. The yellow spring water spread around. A figure appeared in each yellow spring water. They were the 3 core elders of the Dark Hall of the Yellow Spring sect. They led 100,000 dark army. They came to attack the Luo family. Among them, the elder on the right had cold eyes and a zombie-like body. He said coldly, "Luo Donglai, how dare you? Does the Luo family want to die?" Now, everyone in the Luo family knelt down, hand over the ox head. Chapter 5734. What was a bull's head? Lin Xian was taken aback. Luo's pupils constricted. How did he know about it? Her family did have a bull's head. To be exact, it was just a statue of a bull's head. She didn't know if it was a real bull's head, but it was definitely related, and it was an important clue. Only Luo Donglai, the patriarch, and a few elders knew about it. They didn't spread the news. They were waiting for the first genius of the Luo family to come back. Then they would discuss what to do. Luo Donglai had sent a message asking the first genius to come back. But how did the news get out? He looked around. The elders shook their heads and said, "We didn't betray the family." The patriarch took a deep breath. He cupped his fists and said, "I think you've misunderstood. Who is it? Someone is framing the Luo family. How could we have news about the bull's head? Even if we did, we would have given it to the Yellow Spring sect." "Really?" The zombie-like elder snorted. "Luo Donglai, you're so used to pretending. We were almost fooled by you. But this time, it was the Luo family who told the truth. So it's true." "What?" The patriarch's pupils constricted. He raised his head abruptly and looked at the elders around him. His expression changed drastically. "Patriarch, we didn't say anything." But then, Luo Qianyu's body swayed. He flew over the city wall to the edge of the Yellow Spring and said, "I said it." "What? You?" Luo Donglai was stunned. He didn't expect it to be Luo Qianyu. The second genius of his family had hurt him badly. Luo's eyes turned red. "Luo Qianyu, you ungrateful bastard. How did the family treat you? How did you treat me? I proposed to you 3 times, but you rejected me. How did you treat me? Luo Qianyu roared. Despicable! Luo Luo cried. The expressions of the other elders also turned incomparably ugly. The proposal was Luo Luo's own business. The family had never mistreated Luo Qianyu. Luo Qianyu was the second genius of the family. They had trained him with all their might. But he had betrayed the family. Damn it! Damn it! If I knew you were this kind of thing, I would have slapped you to death. Angry voices could be heard one after another. Luo Qianyu sneered. Humph! Don't worry, I'll remember your words. When I become the clan leader of the Luo clan, I will teach you a lesson. What? You want to be the patriarch? The people of the Luo family went crazy. Luo Qianyu arrived before the Darkness Hall's elder. He said, Elder, I can testify that the Luo family did receive a cow head statue. Luo Donglai was going to give the statue to an outsider. It was that kid. He intended to collude with people outside of hell. Luo Qianyu pointed to a figure in the crowd. That's right, it was Lin Xian. This time around, he was determined not only to obtain the position of the Luo clan's clan chief, but also to obtain the position of the Luo clan's clan chief. He wanted to borrow the Yellow Springs sect's hand to kill Lin Xian. Countless people exclaimed. However, Lin Xian's expression darkened. Were they coming for him? This Luo Qianyu really deserved to die. It's you. The terrifying gaze in the sky fell and enveloped Lin Xian. Oh no, Lin Gongzi, you have to leave now. Luo Luo and the others exclaimed. The Luo clan leader also sighed. Lin Gongzi, we've dragged you into this. If you have the chance, you should leave now. However, Lin Xian shook his head. He swayed his body and came to the city wall, saying, Clan leader Luo, you've taken good care of me. How can I leave you now? Tell me, what is a cow head? The people of the Luo family were going crazy. How could this kid be in the mood to talk about a cow head? Luo Qianyu laughed. Kid, you really don't know what's good for you. Let me tell you, there are two legendary powerhouses in hell, the cow head and the horse face. However, they were already powerhouses in the primordial age and have long disappeared. However, legend has it that they left behind two things that contained the supreme secrets of hell. The Luo family had obtained a cow head statue. It was very likely that it was a secret left behind by the primordial age powerhouse, the cow head. The Luo family wanted to monopolize it. Hearing this, Lin Xian was also stunned. The cow head and the horse face were indeed legendary peerless masters in hell. But what was the secret? Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. Could it have nothing to do with the wordless heavenly steel? The wordless heavenly steel was also extremely mysterious and had something to do with the ninth serenity. Perhaps there was some connection between the two. The Luo clan leader next to him also sighed. Lin Gongzi, if you have the chance, run away. The Yellow Spring sect was backed by the Yellow Spring Emperor, and the cow head and the horse face were the things that the Yellow Spring Emperor was looking for. This time, the Luo family has no hope. I hope you can take Luo Luo away when you run away later. He knew that Lin Xian was powerful and might be able to take his granddaughter away. No, Grandpa, I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay with you. Luo Luo cried. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He said, It's just a 100,000 dark army. It's no big deal. If he attacks, just kill him. What? The surrounding people went crazy. Does this kid know the strength of the Dark Hall? It's a subordinate of the Yellow Spring sect. It's a terrifying hall. The people of the Dark Hall of the Yellow Spring sect laughed. Someone dared to kill them? Luo Qianyu sneered. Idiot! Do you think you can compete with the Yellow Spring sect after defeating me? Ignorant thing, I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. In the sky, the three elders of the Yellow Spring sect rose into the air. They exuded a powerful aura. With a wave of their hands, 3 streams of yellow spring water gushed out and fell mercilessly. Cracks appeared on the Luo family city, and the array was broken. Many people vomited mouthfuls of blood and retreated. The Luo clan leader took a deep breath and said, "Everyone, get ready to fight to the death. At the same time, send the young talents out." Hearing this, the elders of the Luo family all took a deep breath, and they gathered Luo and the others together. They were ready to send them away. Lin Xian said, "Clan leader Luo, I have a way to keep the Luo family safe." "What is it?" The Luo clan leader was stunned. Lin Xian said, "Their targets are two. The first is the Minotaur statue. The second is me. If you give the Minotaur statue to me, then their target will only be me." What happens next has nothing to do with the Luo family. But can you bear to keep the Minotaur statue a secret? It's up to you. Young master, that's the Yellow Spring sect. Luo had thought of this method, but in this way, Lin Xian would definitely die. Lin Xian smiled. So, what if it's the Yellow Spring sect? It's not like the Yellow Spring Great Emperor came in person. These trash around can't hurt me. "What did you say?" The three elders shouted angrily. In the water of the Yellow Spring, the 100,000 Dark Hall soldiers also roared crazily. Someone dared to call them trash. Unforgivable. Lin Xian ignored them. He stared at the Luo clan leader and said, "Clan leader Luo, you only have one chance. Have you thought it through?" Chapter 57:35. Lin Xian said, "You don't have to worry about my life, because if I dare to take it, I have a way to protect myself. But now, I'm very curious whether you're willing to take it out or not. Of course, I won't force you. It's all up to you. If you take this bull's head, your life will be in danger. However, if you're very confident, why would I be reluctant?" Patriarch Luo took a deep breath. With a wave of his hand, he took out a storage ring and threw it to Lin Xian. "The thing is inside." After Lin Xian took it, he felt the aura inside. His eye technique instantly pierced through the storage ring and saw the space inside. Sure enough, there was a bull's head statue. It was pitch black, mysterious, and terrifying, with a trace of strange power. He nodded, put away the ring, and said, "Okay, I'll protect your Luo family." After speaking, Lin Xian turned around. He looked at the 100,000 dark army around him. With a wave of his hand, a black bull's head statue appeared in his hand. "Did you see that? The thing is with me now. From now on, the thing you're looking for is in my hands. It has nothing to do with the Luo family. If there's anything, come at me." Lin Xian rose into the air. His voice spread in all directions. Below, the people of the Luo family were shocked. The other party was really going to go against the Yellow Spring sect. Moreover, was he going to fight against the 100,000 Dark Army alone? "Young master." Luo's eyes were also red. She asked, "Grandpa, will he be in danger?" The patriarch of the Luo family said, "Now, we can only pin our hopes on him. Kill him." The zombie elder roared angrily. Dozens of dark figures around him rushed over in an instant. Lin Xian sneered. With a wave of his sleeve, sword energy danced. It pierced through these dozens of people. He said coldly, "A bunch of ants, don't come. You three old things, come together. You're courting death." The zombie elder was also angry. He personally made a move. His withered palm stretched out, carrying with it an extremely terrifying power. It covered the sky and earth like a cage, enveloping Lin Xian. "Wait for death." Luo Tianyu sneered. The zombie elder had personally taken action. He wanted to see how the other party would die. Lin Xian sneered and threw out a punch. His fist carried the power of extreme yang, but before it could even get close, it was already too late. The aura of death on the zombie elder's body. It began to melt. Damn it, the power of restraint. The elder's eyes narrowed, and he wanted to retreat, but it was too late. This punch sent him flying. His body turned into a mist of blood as he retreated. He had killed Seven Crown King with a single punch. Lin Xian sneered. Seven Crown King, you dare to be arrogant in front of me? You don't know what's good for you. Everyone was shocked, dumbstruck. The Luo clan was silent. The people of the Yellow Spring sect sucked in a breath of cold air. The 100,000-strong army of darkness was also stunned. One of their elders was sent flying by a single punch, just like that. One had to know that the zombie elder was no ordinary Seven Crown King. That was extremely terrifying, already close to 8 Crown Kings. But even so, he was still killed in an instant. Damn it, you dare to kill him? Our Yellow Spring sect will never forgive you. The other 2 powerhouses roared crazily. Luo Qianyu also retreated, because he realized that Lin Xian's gaze was already fixed on him. Lin Xian said, I hate traitors the most. How dare you betray me? There's no need for you to live. After saying that, he slashed out again. The biting cold sword light carried the power of killing. Luo Qianyu shouted angrily, Get lost! He punched out with both fists, carrying a terrifying aura. It was as if the world of hell had been turned upside down. The terrifying power was shocking, as expected of the second genius of the Luo clan. However, under Lin Xian's sword, a few cracks appeared in the other party's hell world. That power was suppressed. Under the sword, Luo Qianyu was split in half. With another sword, Luo Qianyu's head flew up. His soul was also cut in half. Impossible? In the end, he died in fear. The second genius couldn't even block 2 sword strikes from the other party. How terrifying was this person? Damn it, let's attack together. The remaining 2 elders of the Dark Association roared angrily. They realized that the other party was much stronger than they had imagined. No wonder he dared to go against them. With a roar, the 2 elders charged over. The surrounding 100,000 Dark Association troops attacked together. When they joined forces, it was extremely terrifying. In the sky, they formed a black sword of death. It was formed by 100,000 people, and it carried boundless power as it slashed down. At the same time, the 2 elders of Seven Crown King appeared and disappeared mysteriously, ruthlessly attacking. Not good. Below. Luo exclaimed again. The Luo clan leader also said, Lin Gongzi, retreat quickly. Lin Xian's strength shocked them. However, the 100,000 Dark Association troops were too strong. They cultivated the same laws. At this moment, coupled with this sword of death, they were probably comparable to 8 Crown King. Lin Xian stood on the city wall like this. He looked up at the sky with a calm expression. At this moment, an indomitable aura appeared in his eyes. The heaven-defying art. This fist shall be called the heaven-defying fist. Lin Xian's fist swung out. This was a fist technique that he had created himself. It had to go against the heavens and be fearless of everything. A fist flew out. That was an unyielding fighting spirit. That was a ferocious roar. The sword of death was actually sent flying. Everyone was shocked. The 100,000 Dark Association troops couldn't do anything to the other party. Indeed, at this moment, the 2 elders of the Dark Association had already arrived behind the other party. One of the palms approached, and the shadow of death slapped fiercely on Lin Xian's body. The other shot out a terrifying chain that was like a poisonous snake enveloping Lin Xian's body. The 2 of them cooperated perfectly. In despair, turned into white bones. The 2 of them laughed sinisterly. The mark of death with a terrifying aura slapped fiercely on Lin Xian's body. The laws danced, and the surroundings were filled with cracks. Lin Xian turned his head. He said coldly, Is this your strongest power? You can't even break my defense? The Elder of Death was so scared that he took 3 steps back. His face was full of horror. His strongest technique couldn't break the other party's defense. What kind of physique was this? The other elder of the Dark Association was also stunned. Lin Xian punched out. Heaven-defying fist. The unyielding power directly turned the elder into a bloody mist. In the next moment, Lin Xian looked at the last person, demon. The last elder of the Dark Association turned around and fled. It wasn't that he had never seen an expert before. The Yellow Spring sect had a great emperor. It was just that he didn't expect that there would be such an expert in such a remote place. He was careless. Run. He turned into a stream of light. His speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he hid in the Yellow Spring. Can you escape? Lin Xian sneered. The Rinnegan bloomed and locked onto the other party. 6 paths of reincarnation. Soul extermination. A cold voice sounded. The smile on the Dark Association elder's face froze. Along with his soul, in an instant, he was torn into pieces by a powerful force. His body fell from the water of the Yellow Spring. It landed on the ground below. A deep pit was created. In the blink of an eye, 3 elders of the Yellow Spring sect had fallen. The traitor Luo Tianyu had fallen. Everyone was shocked. Chapter 5736. Everyone was stunned by this scene. The 100,000 soldiers of the Dark Organization were also furious. Kill! They roared angrily and charged over in an overwhelming manner. Lin Xian snorted coldly as killing intent burst out from his eyes. He was ready to perform the Cosmos Sword technique. Everything under the cosmos was a sword. However, at this moment, a demonic shadow flew over from afar. It carried with it an endless demonic aura. He slaughtered his way into the army of darkness and swept through all directions. With every strike, a large number of soldiers of the Dark Organization would fall. The demonic aura danced between heaven and earth, and countless laws intertwined to form a piece. In the blink of an eye, the 100,000 soldiers of the Dark Organization had died. They were all wiped out. Countless corpses fell from the sky. The water of the Yellow Spring surged into the sky and let out a terrifying roar. The people of the Luo family were all stunned. Who on earth was this person? He had wiped out 100,000 soldiers in such a short time. He was too powerful. Lin Xian's pupils constricted as he stared at the figure. This figure was none other than the demonic shadow of the illusory demon crystal. Had the other party become so terrifying at this moment? The demonic shadow had killed 100,000 soldiers of the Dark Organization. Endless power surged into the demonic aura. The demonic shadow became even more solid. In the next moment, he raised his head and looked at Lin Xian. The two of them looked at each other just like that. However, the demonic shadow soon turned into endless demonic aura and surged into the demonic aura. In an instant, it came to Lin Xian's side. Then it disappeared. The powerhouses of the Luo family were all shocked. At first, they thought that the demonic shadow was coming for them. However, when it came to Lin Xian's side and disappeared, they were stunned again. They all stared at Lin Xian. Could it be Lin Gongzi's doing? Lin Gongzi was too powerful. Yes, there was such an expert hiding by his side. No wonder he was not afraid of the Yellow Spring sect. One after another, exclamations of surprise sounded. Luo was also stunned. She blinked her beautiful eyes. Lin Xian's expression was ugly. The demonic shadow was too strange. The patriarch of the Luo family walked over and said, "Thank you, Lin Gongzi, for saving us." Lin Xian said, "Don't worry about it. Young master, please." This time, the people of the Luo family invited Lin Xian in respectfully. There was no more dissatisfaction from before. A day later, a ray of light flew across the sky. He transformed into a man who was incomparably handsome. This man had a gloomy and cold aura. He looked around the city at the scenes of the battle, and his brows furrowed tightly. The next moment, he flew into the city. "Grandpa, I'm back." The man shouted. The clan head of the Luo clan stepped forward. Luo also came out. She shouted, Ge, you are back. This man was called Luo Xiao. He said, I saw a great battle outside. What's going on? The Luo clan's clan chief sighed. He told Luo Xiao what had happened before. After hearing this, Luo Xiao's pupils shrank. The people of the Netherworld sect had made a move. However, you were able to completely resist it. It's incredible. Luo said, It's not us. It's Lin Gongzi. He is really too powerful. Then Luo told him the rest of the story. After hearing this, Luo Xiao frowned tightly. Such a peerless master had come. What shocked him even more was that the Minotaur statue had fallen into the other party's hands. No, this thing was extremely mysterious. There must be a shocking secret hidden in hell. It must not fall into the hands of outsiders. Luo Xiao looked in all directions. He felt a mysterious aura. Then he rushed over. Brother! Luo exclaimed. The Luo clan's clan chief's expression also changed. He quickly rushed over. Although Luo Xiao was the #1 genius of their family, and was now in the underworld temple, Lin Xian was also extremely mysterious and could not be provoked. However, Luo Xiao was very fast. He wanted to stop him, but it was too late. With a flash of light, Luo Xiao directly arrived at a villa. He said coldly, You are that outsider, right? Inside the villa, Lin Xian was cultivating with his eyes closed. He was comprehending and creating his own heaven-defying technique. The previous Qinquan sword technique was still 1 day away. At this moment, he heard a voice coming from outside. He opened his eyes and his body swayed. He tore open the void and came outside. The next moment, he saw a feminine man standing there. Who are you? Lin Xian frowned. He had never seen him before. My name is Luo Xiao, the #1 genius of the Luo clan. The #1 genius? Lin Xian frowned tightly. Luo Tianyu was the #2 genius. It turned out that this was the #1 genius. He said, What do you want? As soon as he finished speaking, 2 more figures rushed over from afar. It was Luo and Clan Chief Luo. Clan Chief Luo said, Xiao come back with me. However, Luo Xiao shook his head. He said, Grandpa, don't worry. He looked at Lin Xian and said, You saved the Luo clan before. I am very grateful. Our Luo clan will give you countless cultivation resources. No need. Lin Xian shook his head and said, Your Luo clan has already given me something. We don't owe each other anything. This is the purpose of my visit. I want to use cultivation resources to exchange for the Minotaur statue. Luo Xiao said, The Minotaur statue is very mysterious to our hell, but you are an outsider who doesn't cultivate the power of hell. It is useless for you. Why don't you exchange it for some cultivation resources? How much do you want? Just tell me. I will definitely do it. Oh, exchange for the Minotaur statue? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. In the past few days, he had also comprehended it. The Minotaur statue was indeed very mysterious, but he couldn't find any clues. However, it could make the great emperor's sect value it so much. It must be extraordinary. He shook his head. No, I won't exchange it. Clan Chief Luo, you won't regret it, right? Lin Xian looked at the Luo clan chief and frowned. Clan Chief Luo said, No, our Luo clan won't regret it. My grandson just came back and doesn't know the situation at that time. Luo Xiao said, Lin Gongzi, I'll give you one more chance. Lin Xian said, No need to say more. If there's nothing else, you can leave. Luo Xiao's face darkened. Lin Gongzi, I know you are strong, but there are countless masters in hell. There is always someone better. Don't be too arrogant. Speaking of this, a terrifying aura exuded from his body. Are you threatening me? Lin Xian also stared at him, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Luo said, Brother, don't do anything to Lin Gongzi. He is our savior. Clan Chief Luo also said, "Yes, don't do it. Aren't you staying for 2 days to attend the Dao Seeking Pavilion's Dao Seeking meeting?" Luo Xiao sighed heavily. He didn't make a move. He turned around and said coldly, "Lin Xian, you're on your own." Seeing him leave, the light in Lin Xian's eyes disappeared. Luo said, "Brother Lin, don't be angry. My brother doesn't understand the situation. I'm here to apologize to you." Clan Chief Luo also said, "Lin Gongzi, I'm sorry. I'll explain it to him when I get back." "It's okay." Lin Xian shook his head. He didn't care about Luo Zhao's hostility at all. The other party was only a 7-crown champion. No matter how talented he was, he couldn't compare to him. However, what made him curious was what was the Dao Seeking meeting. Chapter 5737. The patriarch of the Luo family said, "This is a gathering of quasi-emperors to comprehend the great Dao. They will fight there and create the strongest great Dao." "So that's how it is." Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. In other words, there would be a group of powerful quasi-emperors there. Lin Xian was interested. He might be able to get more information there. Then, Elder Luo and Elder Luo left. Lin Xian went into seclusion again. On the other side, the Luo family held a gathering. They didn't invite many people. Only some core elders attended. This gathering was to welcome Luo Xiao back. "Xiao, is what you said true? You really became a core disciple of the Nether God Palace." The group of elders was extremely excited. The Nether God Palace was not weaker than the Yellow Spring sect. Furthermore, the core disciples were not something that the Dark Association's army could compare with. The ones who attacked them previously were only the Dark Hall of the Yellow Spring sect. This was just a hall, and it was enough to make them despair. The core strength of the real Yellow Spring sect was even more terrifying. A strong cultivator could probably destroy them. Now, their family finally had someone who could enter a great emperor's sect and become a core disciple. This was definitely great news for them. In the future, Luo Xiao could definitely become a super mighty figure. Luo Xiao said, "I just joined half a year ago. However, I am confident that I can improve further." Speaking of this, Luo Xiao looked at Luo. He said, "Sister, don't stay at home. Follow me to the Nether God Palace. I might not be able to protect you in the Nether God Palace. Now that I have become a core disciple, I definitely have the strength to protect you." The people of the Luo family were happy. That's great. If Luo goes in, she might also become an expert. Then the Luo family would definitely rise. In this area, no one would dare to offend them. Even the Dark Hall couldn't do it. However, Luo said, "Me? I won't go." "No, you have to go. The current hell has become more terrifying than before. The 3 great emperors have awakened. They are fighting crazily. There will be a battle sooner or later. There is a dark hall near our family. It belongs to the Yellow Spring sect. I can warn them now, but when the time comes, it will be a battle. So we have to remind them of the family's strength. Now, apart from me, you are the only genius in the family. Damn it, if that Luo Tianyu hadn't sought his own death, I might have been able to let him enter the underworld god hall." Luo was still a little Luo as she didn't want Luo Xiao Luo Zhaoz's. "Luo Xiao, Louis, how about this? Isn't there a Dao Seeking meeting? Bring her there. Let her see what a true top expert is like. Perhaps Luo would yearn for it." Luo Xiao nodded. "Then I'll take you away in a few days. We'll go to the Dao Seeking Pavilion and take a look at the Dao Seeking meeting." Luo as she went to look for Lin Xian. She said, "Big brother Lin, there's something I want to talk to you about." Lin Xian said, "Why do you look troubled?" Luo said, "Big brother told me to go to the Underworld God Hall to cultivate. Luo said, but I don't like cultivation. He even asked me to watch the Luo, but I'm really not interested. Luo Lin Xian, if your brother can protect you all the time, you don't have to cultivate. But is the Luo? You can go take a look and broaden your horizons. Because I want to go too. Really? Brother Lin, do you still want to go? Luo's eyes lit up. Then I'll tell my brother to take you with him. Luo Lin Xian nodded. Luo left happily. She went to find Luo Xiao. Luo Xiao frowned when he heard this. Truth be told, he still held a strong enmity towards Lin Xian. If you don't take Brother Lin, I won't go either, Luo said. All right, I'll take him. Luo Xiao smiled. Luo was the family's benefactor, and he couldn't do anything to him. However, he could intimidate him. When the time came, he would take him to the Dao-seeking pavilion and see what a battle between top experts was like. Perhaps the other party would be afraid and obediently hand over the Minotaur statue. 2 days later, Luo Xiao said, "Let's go." Luo was ready. Lin Xian didn't have anything to prepare. Everything was in the storage ring and the sword world. They could set off at any time. The group left. Luo Xiao was riding on a giant eagle. The black eagle spread its wings and flew with an extremely terrifying cold aura. It was as if it had crawled out of the 18 levels of hell. Wherever it passed, some warriors and saints were terrified. They all knelt on the ground and kept worshipping it because of this eagle. It was a powerful demon saint. Lin Xian and the others sat there and looked down at the strange scenery of hell. She hadn't left the area of the family yet. It was her first time outside, and she was very happy. Luo Xiao, on the other hand, looked calm. He had seen too many of such scenes. He was a top genius of hell. Lin Xian was also very calm. However, in Luo Xiao's opinion, the other party was pretending. Lin Xian didn't care about the other party's attitude. He had one goal, and that was to get information from the other party. Sure enough, a few days later, the corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up. He had already learned some information from the other party's conversation. For example, 3 great emperors had awakened in hell: Mingdi, the Yellow Spring Great Emperor, and the Bone Emperor. The sects under them were the Underworld God Hall, the Yellow Spring Sect, and the White Bone Cave. These 3 great sects swept across all directions. It was these 3 sects who had fought for the Death God Lamp. In addition to the Death God Lamp, the other party was also crazily collecting other things. For example, the legendary mysterious Minotaur and Horseface were also among the targets of the other party. At this point, Luo Xiao warned Lin Xian, "You'd better hand over the Minotaur statue to me. Otherwise, when the news spreads, the 3 great emperor sects will come looking for you. Can you resist them? So, for the sake of your life, you'd better hand it over as soon as possible." Lin Xian merely smiled in response to those words. A great emperor's sect? He wanted to see how strong they were. After all, this time, he was prepared to cooperate with a great emperor. He just didn't know which one to choose. However, he asked about the Underworld God Hall. He felt that Mingdi might be a target for cooperation, because as a core member of the Underworld God Hall, Luo Xiao hadn't heard of any powerful figures descending recently. This meant that the people of the Otherworld God Palace hadn't found the other party. Luo Xiao said, "Recently, there were indeed powerful figures descending with powerful information. However, the direction was the White Bone Cave. I wonder what kind of powerful figure the Bone Emperor met." The White Bone Cave. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Perhaps it was the people of the Otherworld God Palace. In this case, Lin Xian decided to find a way to get close to Mingdi. It would be best to cooperate with Mingdi. Chapter 5738. Lin Xian didn't tell Luo Xiao about this. With Luo Xiao's hostility, he definitely wouldn't let him get close to Mingdi. He might even sabotage him secretly. Lin Xian could only go to the Tao Seeking Association to see if there were other masters. They flew all the way. 9 days later, they arrived at the Tao Seeking Pavilion. The Tao Seeking Pavilion was located in a valley among the mountains of hell. The terrain of the valley was strange, and there was a mysterious power surrounding it. It was said that the great Tao here was very magical. That was why this mysterious place was created. It was called the Tao Seeking Pavilion. Every once in a while, there would be rising geniuses of hell here to fight and comprehend the great Tao. This time, it was Luo Xiao and the others. At this moment, there were already many people in the Tao Seeking Pavilion. These people all had powerful auras. They were all strong geniuses. Someone said, "This time, the deity ground has descended and hell has recovered. Countless strong cultivators have appeared. Yes, I'm afraid we can recover to the peak of the primordial age. Have you heard? It's said that Lung Dao of the Lung clan was created by himself. It's a peerless saber technique with boundless power. And Han Jiu of the Lung clan. He's not only beautiful, but also powerful. It's said that he's very powerful even among the 7 crown kings. He's close to the 8 crown kings. Yes, that's just the top families. The 3 emperors have countless strong cultivators in their sections. I heard that a top master of the underworld god hall will come this time. How powerful is he? Everyone was shocked. It's said that he's the son of Mingdi. The son of a great emperor is coming too. It's said that this person is extremely extraordinary. He's reached the 6 crown king level, but he's far stronger than the 7 crown king. It's said that he can even fight against the 8 crown king. Perhaps this time, not many people would be a match for him. So what if it's the deity ground? There are countless strong cultivators in hell. When we truly rise, we'll conquer the deity ground and flatten it. We'll kill the strong cultivators of the immortal path. Yes, we'll capture the immortals and make them our slaves. These people laughed out loud. Their expressions were ferocious, and their eyes were filled with murderous intent. They were really arrogant. Lin Xian and the other 2 arrived at this time. Hearing these words, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. But Luo Xiao said, "It's not arrogance, but the truth. Legend has it that during the archaic era, our hell was extremely terrifying, grasping the life and death of others. Now, we want to return to the golden age of the ancient times. Just you wait. It won't be long before we kill our way to the deity land." Luo Xiao's eyes were filled with confidence. However, Luola's brows were tightly furrowed. What she hated the most was fighting. Who dares to say that we are arrogant? At this moment, someone in front turned around and stared at Lin Xian with hostility. "Who are you? You dare to challenge us? So what if we are arrogant? You're not convinced? I'll suppress you." Killing intent surged from these people. Luo Feng's expression changed. However, Luo Xiao walked over and snorted coldly. The nether chi on his body bloomed. They were from the underworld god hall. They were surprised. Luo Xiao then said, "This is my sister. This person has nothing to do with us. Don't get your killing intent wrong." So that's how it is. The people around also smiled. So it's fellow Taoist Luo Xiao. These people greeted him, one after another. However, when they stared at Lin Xian, the killing intent in their eyes was very terrifying. Since Luo Xiao couldn't protect this kid, they wouldn't hold back when the time came. Lin Xian shook his head. "A bunch of ignorant ants. You've only seen a few strong masters. How dare you be arrogant here? There were too many strong masters in the universe. Earth Prison was just one of them. What Lin Xian said was true. He had seen too many powerful cultivators along the way. For example, Luo Xiao was just a genius about the same level as young Master Tianji. There were many such geniuses in the deity land. In his eyes, they were nothing. After all, this was a world of great battles. So many emperors had come out. These geniuses were really like ants. However, The surrounding people were enraged. In the distance, a cold snort was heard. We're nothing? Boy, do you want to die? As soon as the voice fell, the surrounding murderous intent surged. The endless void was cut open by a sharp blade. Feeling this aura, everyone's face changed. What a terrifying power. They all turned their heads and looked in the direction of the voice. A group of people left in the distance yesterday. These people were wearing armor and carrying sabers on their backs. On the sabers, blood-red runes were flashing. They were from the Lung clan. The leader said, "This is Lung Dao, right?" Yes, it was him, the peerless genius of the Lung clan. He created the bloody saber technique. It was extremely terrifying. It was said that those who dared to challenge him were all killed with one slash. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people all cried out in alarm. After all, Lung Dao was a new force to be reckoned with. He was very famous. Lung Dao shifted his position at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, he arrived nearby. He looked down and stared at Lin Xian. You're qualified to talk about the strong masters of Earth Prison. You don't want to live, do you? Lin Xian also smiled. What? I'm really qualified to talk about the strong masters of the universe. I've seen a lot of people, and you really aren't that outstanding. You can only be considered above average. You're just above average. Hearing this, the people around were stunned. Lung Dao said, "Not the top? Are you kidding me?" Even if Lung Dao was one, he would still be a top-notch existence in the sex of the three great emperors. He was probably only a little weaker than the emperor. Such a person was actually not worthy of his attention. Who was this kid? He was too arrogant. They didn't know. Previously, they thought he was from the underworld temple, but now it seemed that he wasn't. He was probably an idiot who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Someone sneered. Lung Dao's face was also cold and murderous. "I'm not the top, am I? Then you'll have to experience my saber technique and see if it's the top. When you go to Earth Prison, remember, don't be so arrogant in your next life." With a clang, a biting cold saber light appeared in his hand. The surrounding void continued to shatter. "Don't hurt Lin Gongzi." When Luo saw this scene, she quickly rushed up. However, Luo Zhao's expression changed. "Sister," he exclaimed. He didn't want to get involved in this matter, because he also felt that Lin Xian was too arrogant. He didn't even take these geniuses of Earth Prison seriously. He was also the number one genius of the family. Didn't that mean that the other party didn't even take him seriously? His face was cold. If it weren't for the family's kindness, he would have slapped the other party to death. However, he didn't make a move. He could only walk over and say, "Lung Dao, don't misunderstand. I'm not protecting this kid. I just don't want you to hurt my sister. Okay, I'll give you face and let him live a little longer. However, when the Dao-seeking meeting comes, I'll kill him in front of the world with one slash. I'll let him know how sharp my saber is." After that, he sneered and turned to leave. The people of the Lung clan also stared at Lin Xian and said, "Kid, enjoy your last moments, because you'll soon despair." Luo was extremely worried. "Brother Lin, why don't we leave?" Luo Xiao said, "Stupid thing, if you want to die, don't take my sister with you. I'm warning you, from now on, stay away from my sister." Chapter 5739. Everyone thought that Lin Xian was too arrogant. He dared to challenge Lung Dao. Luo said, "Brother Lin, why don't I beg my brother to help you? If it doesn't work, we can leave tonight." Lin Xian smiled. "It's just Lung Dao. I don't care about him. If he dares to challenge me, I'll slap him to death." Luo wanted to say something. However, she recalled the scene where Lin Xian fought against the 100,000-strong army of the Dark Association alone. She was so shocked that she thought he was a god. Perhaps Big Brother Lin could really do it. Thinking of this, Luo was no longer worried. Following that, the group of people stopped and waited. Luo Xiao said, "Sister, that guy hasn't escaped yet. Does he really want to die?" Brother Lin is very powerful. Maybe he can defeat Lung Dao." Hearing this, Luo Xiao shook his head and sneered. He wouldn't be a match for Lung Dao even if he practiced for another 1,000 years. In the next few days, more and more masters came. Some had a terrifying, murderous aura. Some had a knife hidden in their smiles. "Look, that woman is so beautiful. The cold aura on her is so scary. She must be Fairy Hanzhou of the Cold Clan. I heard that her ice power is very terrifying and can freeze everything. Who is that person?" "It's a skeleton." The crowd exclaimed again. They saw a red skeleton walking over. The skeleton's body seemed to be made of red gemstones. There were terrifying Great Dao runes on the bones. He must be Gu Feng, the legendary master of the White Bone Cave. The one surrounded by black fire must be Gu Yin. He's here too. Countless cries of astonishment could be heard, one after another. The names of the peerless masters spread in all directions. When Luo Xiao saw this, he frowned. This time, there are so many geniuses. Luo also said, "Are they scary? Brother, how are they compared to you?" "I'm not sure about these people. However, they believe that I have to use my trump card. However, there's another peerless master in the underworld god palace. These people can't defeat him at all." At this point, his eyes were burning with passion. That was the idol he worshipped. "Who is it?" Luo asked curiously. Luo Xiao said, "That is the son of our Ming emperor, the son of Ming, the son of the great emperor. His bloodline was terrifying, and his strength was terrifying as well. Seven Crown King was not his match at all. Rumor had it that he was already able to contend against 8 Crown King. Furthermore, his cultivation was only 6 Crown King. Such talent surpassed everything." After hearing this, Luo was also extremely surprised. Is he that powerful? The others also sucked in a breath of cold air. Everyone knew about the child of the underworld. There was a trace of fear in their eyes. Only Lin Xian remained calm. The corners of his mouth even curled up into a smile. As the son of a great emperor, I wonder how strong he is. He was looking forward to it. Hearing this, Luo Xiao sneered and shook his head. This fellow couldn't even defeat him, yet he wanted to fight against the son of a great emperor? He was courting death. At this moment, countless cries of surprise rang out. That was because they realized that the son of a great emperor had arrived. Countless wisps of underworld qi danced in the air, emitting rumbling sounds. Inside, there was a ship of the underworld. It streaked across the sky, emitting thunderous sounds. On the ship of the underworld, there were palaces and pavilions. There were even many maids and servants cleaning up there. Standing at the front of the ship of the underworld was a man in black. He had a handsome face, and the laws surrounded his body. He had an extremely terrifying bloodline aura that could suppress all the worlds in the universe. It was as if the god of the underworld had descended. When they saw this scene, countless people raised their heads to look. Many people's bodies began to tremble. They could feel the immense oppression of their bloodline. Only the bloodline of a great emperor could bring them such terrifying pressure. Gu Feng, Gu Yin, Hanzhou, and the others also took a deep breath. They also felt the terrifying pressure. It was as if a single person could suppress the sky. The child of the underworld laughed loudly. With a wave of his sleeve, terrifying laws descended. "Why aren't you kneeling when you see me?" A terrifying sound rang out. That power caused the weaker people to directly kneel on the ground, constantly prostrating themselves. A few of the top geniuses snorted coldly. Lung Dao roared at the sky, and the saber light on his body shot into the sky. "You want me to kneel?" "Impossible." Gu Feng also snorted coldly. His red bones emitted an extremely terrifying aura. His body was extremely tough. Although he was just a skeleton, it was far stronger than anything. Even a powerful sacred weapon would not be able to shatter his body. He stood there and formed his own world to fight against the child of the underworld. Hanjo also formed a world of frost. She said in a low voice, "You want us to surrender with this aura? I'm afraid you can't do it, even if you're first. So what?" Angry shouts were heard. These geniuses fought fiercely. In the sky, on the ship of the underworld, the child of the underworld smiled and said, "Since I'm here, let's start the Tao-seeking meeting." Following his words, the Tao-querying valley began to rumble. The valley slowly opened, and a mysterious aura appeared inside. Everyone rushed toward the valley. Only those who participated in the Tao-seeking meeting were qualified. The others could only be onlookers. "Let's go over too, Brother Lin. We can only see clearly if we get closer," Luo Luo said to Lin Xian. Lin Xian stood up and nodded. He walked forward. When he saw this scene, a few saber lights flashed in the distance. It was the Lung tribe. They blocked his way. They said, "Kid, don't even think about running. When the Tao-seeking meeting is over, it will be your death. Run." Lin Xian heard this and sneered. "Who told you I'm running? I'm going to participate in the Tao-seeking meeting. Your genius Lung Dao is just an ant in my eyes. I'll kill him with my own hands and let you know who the real powerhouse is." After saying this, the faces of the people from the Lung tribe turned ugly. This kid was too arrogant. Did he really not put their clan in his eyes? They shouted angrily and wanted to attack. However, at this moment Lin Xian turned around and flew toward the Tao-seeking meeting. Luo Luo followed beside him. One of the swordsmen said, "Ignore him. Not everyone can enter the Tao-seeking stock. The great Tao inside is very terrifying. Those who are weak will be killed instantly. I'd like to see how he'll escape in a sorry state." The few of them sneered. The others also saw it. Isn't this the kid who challenged Lung Dao? He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He still wants to participate in the Tao-seeking meeting. Does he have the right? Luo Luo was also stunned. She originally thought that Lin Xian just wanted to get closer to take a look, but now she realized that was not the case. She realized that Lin Xian was flying directly toward the valley. Could it be that Brother Lin also wanted to participate? Under the watchful eyes of countless people, Lin Xian came to the top of the valley and descended. In an instant, he sensed an enormous power rushing toward him. He snorted coldly and slashed out with his sword. All of those terrifying laws were completely shattered. Chapter 5740. That guy actually succeeded. Countless people cried out in surprise when they saw this scene. The expressions of the people from the Lung clan also became extremely ugly. This kid was actually so strong that he was qualified to enter the Tao-seeking association. It was really beyond their expectations. So what? A swordsman gritted his teeth. Even if he entered, he would only be at the bottom. He was still 10,000 years away from being able to compete with Lung Dao. Yes, that's right. It was a good opportunity for Brother Lung Dao to beat him up in front of all the powerhouses. These people all sneered. Brother Lin, when Luo Luo saw that Lin Xian had succeeded, she was also stunned. She also gritted her teeth and descended. However, at this moment, a terrifying law enveloped her. She felt that her body was about to split open. Not good. Luo Luo's expression became ugly. This aura was not something she could resist at all. At this moment, a figure came to her side. It was Lin Xian. Lin Xian waved his hand, and a terrifying sword chi enveloped Luo Luo and brought her down. Luo Luo felt that the pressure around her had disappeared and heaved a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Brother Lin." The two of them arrived at the valley and walked inside. Those standing in the valley were all extremely terrifying experts and geniuses. Each of them stood there and looked down on the world, looking down on everyone else. Suddenly, someone was stunned. Someone else could enter? Who was it? To be honest, those who could enter were all familiar with each other and felt that it was about time. However, they did not expect that someone else would enter. Had another top genius appeared out of nowhere? They turned their heads to look. They were stunned. They found that two people had walked in, and they were two strangers, a man and a woman. The man was handsome, and the woman was beautiful. Who were these two people? Luo Zhao's expression changed. Sister, why did you come in? Nonsense. Who let you in? Hurry up and go back. Luo Zhao was really stunned. One had to know that entering the Tao-seeking association was not only to withstand the pressure, but also to fight with other powerhouses. The slightest carelessness would result in serious injuries or even death. He brought Luo here this time just to watch. At the same time, he was even more shocked. How did Luo get in? Could it be that his sister's strength had increased greatly? However, when he saw Lin Xian, his expression turned ugly. Damn you, how did you get in here? Lin Xian said. Of course, I came in based on my strength. Also, you don't have to worry about Luo's safety. I will protect her. Luo Zhao was completely enraged. Who do you think you are to protect your sister? He pulled Luo over and said, Stay by my side and don't leave. Then he looked around and said, My sister is playful. She just wants to come in and watch. I hope everyone will give me some face and not challenge her later. So, she was a playful little girl. Hanjiu shook his head after reading it. He wasn't interested. The others also retracted their gazes. They discovered that Luo was only a 5-crown king. She was indeed not worthy of being their opponent. However, who was the other young man? They stared at Lin Xian. Hanjiu was shocked. 6-crown king's cultivation? He was indeed a little weak, but to be able to reach here with his own ability, he could be considered a genius. Indeed, those who came here were all 7-crown kings. There were only 2 6-crown kings. One was the child of the underworld. He was the son of a great emperor. His bloodline was extremely terrifying. 6-crown king's cultivation was enough to sweep through everything. The other was Lin Xian. In everyone's eyes, Lin Xian would probably be the last, the weakest existence. Thus, they didn't pay much attention to him. Lung Dao was also stunned. Brat, are you so impatient to come in and die? Don't worry, I will let you die in despair later. You are not qualified to be my opponent. Lin Xian didn't even look at the other party. He directly left. This made Lung Dao grit his teeth. He wasn't qualified? What a joke. Lin Xian wasn't wrong. These people weren't qualified to be his opponent. This time, he only had one target, and that was the child of the underworld. Lin Xian wanted to cooperate with the underworld emperor this time. Thus, to get close to the underworld emperor, the best way was to get close to the child of the underworld. If the other party was obedient, then they would cooperate. If the other party wasn't obedient, then he would directly suppress them. Then he would go and see the underworld emperor. Lin Xian had a plan in his heart. At this moment, the Tao-seeking assembly finally began. The child of the underworld walked up and said, This time, comprehending the Tao is based on strength. Who dares to challenge me? He looked in all directions. Everyone fell silent, even Gu Feng, and the others didn't say anything, because they weren't confident that they could defeat the other party. Moreover, it wasn't a wise choice to fight the other party right from the start. Hanjiu walked up and said, You are the imperial prince. We will challenge you, but not now. We will fight at the last moment. So you'd better take a rest first, since you've just started. That's good. The child of the underworld nodded and went back. He said, I'll wait for the strongest one among you to fight with me. I hope you won't disappoint me. Hanjiu walked out and said, Who is willing to spar with me? I will. A woman in red walked over. This woman was called the Bloodthirsty Princess. The murderous aura on her was extremely terrifying. She was from the Yellow Spring sect. Next, Han Jiu and the bloodthirsty princess engaged in a huge battle. Han Jiu used ice, which could freeze everything. The bloodthirsty princess used a long sword. The blood-red sword could devour blood. It was extremely terrifying. It made everyone's blood boil. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. All kinds of laws appeared. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and watched. After watching, he nodded. He had to admit that the experts of hell were indeed powerful. They were also very terrifying in the celestial ground, but he didn't take them seriously. After watching more than 10 moves, he had a judgment in his heart. Han Jiu was going to lose. As expected, after 30 moves, Han Jiu's ice world was broken. One of her arms was cut by the bloodthirsty princess and turned into white bones. You lost. Do you want to continue? The bloodthirsty princess held the blood sword and asked indifferently. Han Jiu's face was cold. She said, "No need. You won this battle." Her face was a bit cold. She turned around and tore off her injured arm. Then she grew another one. The others were also shocked. This bloodthirsty princess's sword was getting more and more terrifying. Devouring blood was a great threat to all of them. During the battle, they also felt an extremely terrifying aura. Next, another person went up to fight. It was also terrifying. Luo's beautiful eyes flashed. She exclaimed, "These people were really too powerful. Even if the patriarch of their family came, he wouldn't be able to beat these people." They were all 7-crown champions, but the difference was huge. On the underworld ship, Underworld Child stood there and looked down. There were many servants beside him. Among them were 2 old servants. Underworld Child asked, "What do you two think?" The white-haired old servant said, "These people are indeed strong. Even in our underworld god hall, they are the top. But compared to His Highness, they are still lacking." Chapter 5741. At this moment, the black-haired old man also said, "Their inheritance is not as good as His Highness. Their bloodline is not as good as His Highness. So, Your Highness, don't worry." Underworld Child said, "This time, I will make them all submit to me and work for me." His eyes flashed with a terrifying light. Not only did he want to win, but he also wanted to control these people. Below, in the valley, the battle was still exciting. Luo was shocked when she saw it. Luo Xiao said coldly, "Do you see? Some people will be ants their whole lives. As for us, we are the high and mighty dragons." His words were meant for Lin Xian. He wanted Lin Xian to recognize the reality. However, Lin Xian said, "You are right. Some people will always say that some people are dragons. But you seem to be wrong. The dragon is not you, but me. In my eyes, you are just SO. What did you say?" Luo Xiao was completely angry. He was trying to warn the kid out of kindness. However, the other party was so arrogant. He was about to stand up and make a move. But at this moment, a voice came from afar, "It's my turn." Then the whole valley was covered by the blade light. It was so scary. Luo was also frightened. Luo Xiao hurried to protect his sister. At the same time, he turned his head. Is Lung Dao going to fight? The others were also shocked. Lung Dao is really arrogant. Who is he going to challenge? After Lung Dao came up, he looked directly at Lin Xian and said, "Kid, come up. Although you are an ant, I will kill you with one strike." What? Is he going to challenge the 6-crown king? What is Lung Dao thinking? Countless exclamations sounded. They all looked at Lin Xian. In their opinion, Lin Xian was no match for them. In this place, no one dared to challenge the other party. If the other party was courting death and dared to make a move, the other party would definitely be defeated. Anyone could kill the other party with one strike. Their biggest enemy should be the Underworld Child. But now Lung Dao did not care about his reputation and directly challenged an ant. Suddenly, someone laughed. It was Gu Feng who spoke. Lung Dao, aren't you afraid that the world will laugh at you? So what? Who is not convinced? Ask about the knife in my hand. Killing intent appeared in Lung Dao's eyes. He stared at Lin Xian and said, Kid, do you think that I would care about my reputation and not attack you? That's why you dare to come in, isn't it? However, you're wrong. I have a special characteristic. As long as it's an enemy, I'll instantly kill them. I won't let the enemy grow. So, I won't give you any hope. Come and fight with me. Of course, if you kneel down, crawl in front of me like a dog, and kowtow to apologize to me, I might consider sparing your life. At this point, the people from the Lung tribe burst into laughter. Great, it was finally time for their geniuses to make a move. Wasn't this brat very arrogant? He dared to challenge the Lung clan. Now it was time to let the other party know. What was to spare? Sigh. This brat is going to be unlucky. Seeing this, Bloodthirsty Princess shook her head and sighed. Luo Luo's expression also changed greatly. Lin Gongzi, you mustn't agree. Brother, help him. Luo Xiao snorted. How can I help him? He's too arrogant. For these geniuses, everyone's face is extremely important. It's more important than life. Now, I can't help him. Let this brat kneel down and apologize. Lin Xian stood up. He said, You want to challenge me? To be honest, I'm quite surprised. You're too reckless. If you don't challenge me, you might still be able to survive. But now, are you ready to go to hell? The surrounding people were stunned. What did this brat say? Did he not take Lung Dao seriously? He was indeed arrogant. Luo Xiao also shook his head. This brat is hopeless. Good boy, you're about to die, but you're still stubborn. Later, I'll make you wish you were dead. Get up here. Lung Dao shouted angrily. Lin Xian stood up and said, I'll let you know who's the dragon and who's the snake. He stepped forward with a calm face and came to the arena. This brat was too arrogant. In the end, he was killed with a single strike. The surrounding geniuses were also angry, because from the looks of it, the other party didn't seem to take everyone seriously. They all wanted to see where the other party's confidence came from. After Lin Xian came, he said, I'll let you make 3 moves. Make your move. You're courting death. Lung Dao was completely furious. With a roar, he slashed over with his saber. This saber was extremely sharp. It turned into the most dazzling light, tearing the void apart. The others exclaimed, It's a one-hit kill. It seemed that Lung Dao was completely angry. Humph! This brat definitely won't be able to block it. Lin Xian's body swayed as he dodged the attack like a bolt of lightning. He said indifferently, One move is over. What? He actually dodged it. Gu Feng's pupils constricted. Gui Yan's eyes bloomed with terrifying ghost fire. The others were even more shocked. This guy really dodged it. And was he really going to let Lung Dao make 3 moves? There are still 2 moves left. You have to go all out. Lin Xian's voice made Lung Dao completely angry. The second slash formed a huge cross-shaped saber light that pushed over horizontally. That sound tore through the sky. This was a sure kill attack. However, Lin Xian dodged again. The second move is over. There's still 1 more move. Your chance is gone. You've disappointed me too much. You're courting death. Lung Dao was completely crazy. What's with this brat's speed? How could he be so fast? He leaped high into the sky and slashed down with his saber. The attack turned into tens of thousands of meteors that descended and enveloped the entire valley. Let's see how the other party can escape this time. Boom, boom. What a terrifying range. This brat definitely won't be able to escape. Gu Feng said. Han Jiu also shook his head. It's over. He'll definitely die if this attack hits him. Below, Lin Xian's figure was completely covered by the saber light. Big Brother Lin. Luo's eyes were red. However, Luo Xiao grabbed Luo and sealed her. Then she said, "Stay here and don't move. That brat is courting death. It has nothing to do with us." Everyone thought that Lin Xian was definitely going to die on the ship of the underworld. Underworld Child also frowned. Where did this ant come from? Why is he so reckless? However, the black-haired elder behind him suddenly narrowed his eyes. "No, Your Highness. Look." Underworld Child froze and looked down. The next moment he also frowned, because he found that the situation was out of his expectation. He saw a figure walk out of the saber light that filled the sky below. He said, "3 moves have passed. It's my turn. You're not dead. You're still alive. Oh my God. How did he dodge?" Han Jiu, Gui Yen, Gu Feng, and the others were completely stunned. Even Luo Zhao's eyes narrowed. How is this possible? How can this brat still be alive? Did he see a ghost? Lin Xian didn't answer them. Instead, he attacked directly. A stream of sword qi appeared at the tip of his finger, and it kept spinning. He slashed forward with the sword. This sword was very fast and came directly in front of Lung Dao. Lung Dao's eyes narrowed. Damn it! He raised the saber in his hand to fight back. There was an earth-shattering sound. Everyone's ears were bleeding. With the slash, Lung Dao's figure was sent flying. The long saber in his hand was broken in half. Chapter 5742. Under this sword, Lung Dao was sent flying. His arm was severed, and blood splattered everywhere. Boom! The sword qi pierced through his body and nailed him to the valley. He let out a miserable cry. Everyone was stunned by this scene. How could it be? Lung Dao was injured by the sword. Was he defeated? This kid had hidden his strength. He was 6 Crown King, but he was able to defeat Lung Dao. Could it be that he had a terrifying background? Could he be the 2nd Crown Prince? Countless exclamations sounded. At this moment, all the geniuses frowned. Luo Zhao's face turned ugly. He had looked down on Lin Xian before, but now it seemed that he was wrong. He felt that the young man beside him was a hidden dragon. Lin Xian's body swayed and came in front of Lung Dao. He said, "Now you know who's the ant? You want to fight with me? You're too weak." With that, he slapped Lung Dao's face. Lung Dao's face was instantly shattered. "Damn it, Ant, I'm going to kill you." Lin Xian looked up and slapped his face. The crisp sound of the slap made everyone's scalp tingle. "Damn it, stop it." The people of the Lung tribe went crazy. The other party was slapping their family's face. Some of them frowned. For example, Gu Feng said coldly, "You've gone too far. Stop it, you've already won." Gui Yen also shouted angrily. They were all peerless geniuses. How could they allow others to slap their faces? Moreover, this kid was arrogant before, saying that they were snakes, and the other party was a dragon. How could they tolerate that? Lin Xian turned his head and looked around. Not convinced? Who's not convinced? Who's going to die? These words were too arrogant. The geniuses were immediately angry. Lung Dao roared crazily. "I'm not convinced. I was careless just now. You hid your strength. You won unfairly. If you have the guts, let's fight again." "Yes, that's right." Han Jiu also said, "You know Lung Dao's strength, but he doesn't know your hidden strength. The information between the two sides is not symmetrical. You won unfairly. If you were to fight again, you would definitely not be Coldblade's opponent." Gu Feng and the others spoke one after another. Luo Zhao roared, "Kid, let go of the cold saber. Do you know the consequences of offending the Lung clan?" In his opinion, Lin Xian was powerful, but he was only one person. The Lung clan was a colossus. If they were to offend the Lung clan, putting aside the Lung clan, even the Luo clan would be implicated. Fight again. Lin Xian turned around and stared at Lung Dao. Lung Dao's eyes lit up as he said, "That's right. Do you dare? I won't be careless this time." Lin Xian raised his sword. The other party thought that he was going to release the sword qi. However, At this moment, Lin Xian slapped down with his palm, shattering the top of his head. In an instant, Lung Dao's body shattered into countless pieces, and a bloody mist spread out. Who do you think you are? You don't deserve to fight me twice. Lin Xian retracted his hand and said proudly, He's dead. Princess Bloodthirsty's pupils constricted. She could devour fresh blood, and was very sensitive to life. She could feel that Lung Dao was dead. The others also exclaimed, Impossible, right? He killed Lung Dao. These people were all stunned. To be honest, they were arrogant and unruly. However, they were confident that they could defeat Lung Dao, but they did not dare to kill him. If they did so, they would become enemies with the Lung clan and would not rest until they were dead. How dare he? Luo Luoshao was also trembling with anger. His vision darkened, and he almost fainted. This kid was crazy. He pulled Luo and quickly retreated, saying, We have nothing to do with him. The Luo clan will not stand up for him. He was drawing a line between himself and Lin Xian. The people of the Lung clan roared crazily outside the valley, Kid, after you come out, we will tear you to pieces. Damn it, we will catch you and make you suffer. These people's eyes were red. Their prodigy was dead. How were they going to explain it when they returned? Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly. He used the universe as a sword and pointed out. Outside the valley, the trees, stones, and mountains all turned into sharp sword chi. It enveloped the people of the Lung clan. Miserable cries sounded, and dozens of Lung clan powerhouses were instantly turned into ashes. The others were so scared that their scalps went numb, and they retreated in horror. The strong masters in the valley were also stunned. This guy was massacring the Lung clan. This was a lunatic. Lin Xian looked into the distance and said coldly, I hate it when others threaten me. You've gone too far. Han Jiu shouted coldly. Gu Feng also said, Kid, do you know? What are you doing? Lin Xian laughed. Why, as geniuses, have you been slapped in the face? Are you angry because of embarrassment? When Lung Dao wanted to kill me, who stood up for me? Do you think I deserve to die because I'm an ant? But don't you know that you people are also ants in front of me, since you kill ants without any scruples? Why, can I kill ants? If you're not convinced, come and die. In the valley, these powerhouses were silent. Indeed, they didn't hesitate to kill ants. But when did they become ants? These geniuses couldn't stand it. Today, I have to teach you a lesson. Gui Yen walked out. I'll kill you, and I won't be as careless as Lung Dao. As soon as he came up, an extremely terrifying flame appeared on Gui Yan's body. It was ghost fire, eerie, and terrifying. It could melt everything and form ghost fire armor. There was also a long black flame spear. Everyone watched intently. On the ship of the underworld, the name also said, Lung Dao was careless. He's really useless. However, this Gui Yen was a little interesting. The other party used a unique skill as soon as he came up, and his strength was stronger than Lung Dao. Perhaps there was no suspense in this battle. Brother Lin, Luo was worried again. She also felt that Lin Xian was just lucky before. Luo Shao shook his head. Sister, ignore him. This guy has offended too many people. Today, he won't be able to leave alive. Go to hell. On the arena, Gui Yan's figure flashed, and his long spear pierced over like a dragon. In an instant, it was in front of Lin Xian, stabbing toward Lin Xian's heart. Lin Xian didn't dodge at all. Great, this kid can't keep up with my speed. Gui Yan sneered. Boom. A deafening sound rang out. Did he hit? Gu Feng and the others also stood up. They shook their heads. As expected, he was just lucky last time. This time, in a real battle, he wasn't strong enough. Lung Dao's death was too unjust. If he hadn't been careless, he wouldn't have died. Han Ju also sighed. At this moment, a terrified voice came from the front. This was impossible. It was Gui Yen. What was going on? Luo Zhao's expression also changed, and he looked over. They saw Gui Yan's body continuously retreating, as if he had seen a ghost. What happened? Gui Yan was completely dazed. That attack just now was a sure kill. However, he realized that his long spear had only hit his opponent's body. That was all. It hadn't pierced through at all. In fact, it hadn't even caused a crack. He hadn't broken his opponent's defense. Chapter 57:43. Lin Xian used his physique to block this fatal blow. His left hand reached out and grabbed the flaming spear. Then he shook it forcefully. There was a boom. The flaming spear broke into two halves. Gui Yan's right hand was shattered by this force, turning into a bloody mist. His entire body also continuously retreated. Lin Xian's figure swayed. He came in front of the other party and punched out. Heaven-defying fist. No, Gui Yan was terrified and wanted to escape. However, his body had just turned half a circle when he was hit by this punch. Puff. A rain of blood fell from the sky. Gui Yan turned into a bloody mist. His soul was also torn apart. He was dead. The surrounding geniuses were stunned. With just one punch, a terrifying expert, Gui Yan, died just like that. Everyone was stunned. Han Jiu's beautiful smile became ugly. Gu Feng also sucked in a breath of cold air. What a terrifying physique. As for Luo Zhao, his body trembled. How could it be like this? This was the ant that he had looked down on before. Although his strength was strong, he was still a little weaker than Gui Yan. But now the other party had killed Gui Yan with one punch. Didn't this mean that if the other party wanted to kill him, it would be a matter of a finger? He had challenged the other party time and time again, but he was still alive. He felt incomparably terrified. How could it be like this? Luo Zhao was completely stunned. Who was he? Luo was also excited, waving her small fists. She said, "Brother, did you see that?" Lin Gongzi was really powerful. Powerful. Luo Zhao went crazy. This was no longer something that could be described as powerful. This was defying the heavens. Too weak. Lin Xian waved his sleeve, and the rain of blood was blown away. Then his gaze fixed on Gu Feng. "I heard that your physique is also incomparably powerful. I don't know how you compare to me. Come and fight." Gu Feng was stared at as if he was being stared at by an ancient demon. His hair stood on end. "Don't go too far," he shouted coldly. Lin Xian said, "Don't you dare. I can let you use one hand." He placed his left hand behind his back. "Damn it, they've gone too far." Gu Feng roared and soared into the sky. They charged towards Lin Xian. The red bones seemed to have turned into an ancient mountain, crushing down. His physique was indeed incomparably strong. Even a Saint artifact could not break it. He didn't believe that the other party could contend against him. Lin Xian unleashed his divine body and fought against it. With a boom, the two collided. Gu Feng was shaken to the point that his qi and blood were in turmoil. Cracks appeared on his bones. What a strong physique. Gu Feng was completely stunned. In the clash, he was at a disadvantage. Lin Xian was also surprised. "Your physique is indeed very strong. You're an exception, being able to withstand one of my punches without dying." Although this was a compliment, Gu Gufeng found it extremely strange. When he heard it, did he need others to praise him? Damn it. He raised his hands high on his body, and his bones quickly erupted and condensed. They formed a shield and covered his left hand. The bones of his right hand turned into a blood sword. Kill. He entered battle mode. The people of the Bone Cave might only be from the Bone Forest, but their bones were extremely magical. They could transform into any state. At this moment, after entering battle mode, their combat strength increased even more. Gu Feng transformed into a war god shield and kept dancing to defend. The blood sword in his right hand attacked continuously. White Bone Divine Sword. This was Gu Feng's famous consummate skill. Back then, he had once split a 7-crown king with one sword. That blood slaughter shield was even more terrifying. It was said that it could perfectly withstand the attacks of 2 7-crown kings. In his current state, he should be able to withstand it. The surrounding experts were discussing. Lin Xian looked at the scene and lightly slapped his palm. The 9 Suns' divine palm, a palm of light, descended from the sky. With a boom, the blood slaughter shield cracked. Half of Gu Feng's body was smashed into pieces, and he let out a miserable howl. Was he still human? The surrounding people went crazy. Gu Feng was so powerful, yet he was defeated so easily by the other party? I admit defeat. Half of Gu Feng's body was shattered as he shouted in fear. He didn't dare to continue fighting. If he continued fighting, he would definitely die. Gui Yan was a good example for him. He didn't want to be destroyed. Lin Xian shook his head. Get lost, you're too weak. Who else? His gaze fell on the bloodthirsty princess and Han Jiao. The 2 fairies were pale and took 2 steps back. They were so scared that they lowered their heads like kittens. None of them could fight. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, looking down at the world. But at this moment, he looked at Luo Xiao and said, "Aren't you going to come up and try?" Luo Xiao was going crazy. What kind of joke was this? His expression turned incomparably ugly. He wouldn't dare to go up and fight with the other party even if he had 100 guts. He gritted his teeth and said, "Sister, who is this kid?" Luo said, "Lin Gongzi is from the outside world. What exactly is he? I don't know either. Brother, he's very powerful, right?" Luo Xiao was about to cry. He didn't know how to answer. Lin Xian said, "Now you know who is the dragon? Who is the snake?" The entire place was silent. No one dared to resist. Even the people outside the valley were stunned. They didn't expect such a terrifying expert to come this time. This was a dark horse, a new force to be reckoned with. Who was he? All kinds of questions about Lin Xian. They all appeared. Everyone was terrified. However, there was one person who was angry, and that was the underworld child. His face darkened. How arrogant, how insolent. The other party actually said that everyone present was trash and that none of them could fight. Didn't that mean that he was included as well? As the emperor's son, he was above everyone. He didn't even spare Gui Yan and Gu Feng a glance. Originally, he thought that he would let these people fight first, then he would sweep in all directions and make these prodigies submit. But now, someone had ruined his plan. He even killed a few prodigies. His face was ugly and anger burned. How arrogant! How dare you say that there's no one who can fight? Are you looking down on me, the crown prince? A cold voice came from the sky. Everyone looked up at the ship of the underworld. They exclaimed, "It's the underworld child. He's angry." Oh heavens! Is the underworld child going to make a move? A light appeared in the eyes of Gu Feng and the others. They all had hope. If the underworld child made a move, this person would definitely die. Especially Gu Feng, whose expression was ferocious. "Make your move, Your Highness," he shouted secretly. Luo Xiao's expression also changed. He gritted his teeth and said, "Kid, lower your head and admit defeat. You're no match for the underworld child." He was also a member of the underworld temple. He naturally knew how terrifying the underworld child was. All of them combined were no match for the underworld child. The emperor's bloodline was really too terrifying. This time, Luo was also worried. The people outside the valley were all ferocious. For example, the Ghost Flame clan was even more ferocious. The underworld child would make a move and kill him. That's right, make him suffer a fate worse than death. Send him to the 18th level of hell. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. "Oh, you're going to make a move on me? Fine. Let me see you, the emperor's son. How many moves can you block?" Chapter 5744. Everyone in the valley was stunned when they heard Lin Xian's words. This guy was too arrogant. He didn't even put His Highness in his eyes. He was dead meat. His Highness wasn't someone he could provoke. Do you think you can defeat us? Do you think you can defeat His Highness? You're too reckless. Kid, do you know how long it's been since someone dared to challenge me? Do you know the people who challenged me before? What happened to them? Underworld Child was also angry. He took a step forward and descended from the sky. Endless nether chi spread out from his body, forming a terrifying battle spear. He descended like the god of the underworld. Boom! A terrifying force spread out from under his feet, sweeping through the entire valley. Immediately, everyone's blood boiled. What a terrifying aura! Fairy Han Zhou's expression changed. Princess Bloodthirsty's pupils also constricted. This is His Highness, right? He's really too strong. How laughable. I actually wanted to challenge him before. Just this aura alone is enough to make me unable to resist. Gu Feng's expression was even more ferocious. Half of his broken body had already recovered. At this moment, his eyes were filled with killing intent. Great, with His Highness making a move. This kid will definitely die. Now, do you still think you're my match? The Crown Prince looked down at Lin Xian. From above, his eyes were filled with confidence. Although I'm only the 6th Crown King now, I can even challenge the 8th Crown King. I'm far from being comparable to you. Kneel down and submit to me. Become my strongest warrior, and I can spare your life. Underworld Child was very confident. The way he saw it, Lin Xian would definitely not reject the chance to live. Big Brother Lin. This time, Luo Luo was completely stunned. That was because she could feel how terrifying it was this time. Facing such a terrifying scene, Lin Xian's expression was incomparably calm. He said, "Do you think you can scare me with this aura? You're too naive. I think you've never been out of hell. You're really a frog at the bottom of a well. Do you know how many geniuses there are outside hell? Those people are not weaker than you. In fact, some of them have completely surpassed you. He was an existence that you could only look up to for your entire life. However, they were still defeated by me. Do you think you can challenge me? You are no match for me." Everyone was dumbfounded. Underworld Child also revealed a ferocious expression. "Interesting. It's been a long time since I met someone as arrogant as you. Tell me your name. I don't kill nameless people. Remember, my name is Lin Wudi. I'm the nightmare of your life. I'm the person you'll always look up to." After Lin Xian finished speaking, he took a step forward. A terrifying power erupted from his body and shot up into the sky. With a boom, the entire valley was split into pieces by the sword chi. How could this be? Fairy Han Zhou's pupils shrank as she quickly dodged. The Blood Drinker Princess was surrounded by the terrifying Blood Drinker sword chi. However, he was still sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. Gu Feng was even more miserable. He was pierced by a beam of sword chi. Half of his body was chopped off again. It was the same for the others. They were all shocked. Only Luo Luo's place was safe and sound. Luo Zhao's body trembled as he knelt on the ground with a plop. He knew that he wasn't injured because of Luo Luo. Lin Xian deliberately didn't attack this place. If he had attacked, he would have died without a doubt, because he couldn't block it at all. It was too terrifying. Was this the other party's power? A casual beam of sword chi from the other party's body was enough to kill them. Then how terrifying was the other party's true strength? 8 Crown King? He didn't dare to think about it anymore. This was just a 6 Crown King. Could it be that the other party's ability to fight above his level was even greater than Underworld Child's? Who on earth was he? How could he be so powerful? Princess Bloodthirsty looked terrified. Gu Feng was even more crazy. Impossible? How could there be such a terrifying person in the world? Who was he? He was an old monster. Yes, that's right. He must be an old monster who had been sleeping for countless years. Don't try to fool me. Lin Xian's body was surrounded by sword qi like a sword god. He looked up and said, "Do you think you can still look down on me now? You're no match for me at all." After saying that, Lin Xian slashed out with his sword. Vast sword qi swept across the universe. The boat of the underworld also flew away. In the distance, the two old men on the boat shouted, "Your Highness, be careful." They didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to burst out with such terrifying power. Underworld Child's pupils constricted. The other party's power had made his blood boil just now. However, he was completely furious. As the Crown Prince, he had the strongest bloodline and the strongest unique skill. He wouldn't allow anyone to challenge him. Today, no matter how strong the other party was, he was going to kill the other party. The spear of the underworld. In his hand, the void split open, and a long black spear appeared. He held it in his hand, and then stabbed it over. It collided with the sword qi, and an earth-shattering sound rang out. The surrounding void was directly torn apart. An earth-shattering sound rang out, and flames danced in the air. The sword qi disappeared. However, Underworld Child was knocked back, and the void shattered. His entire arm was numb. What a sharp sword qi! He had never seen this in his life. Buzz! Lin Xian slashed out with his sword again. This time, the sword qi was even more terrifying. The Qianquan sword transformed into a mountain. The sword transformed into a mountain of swordsmanship that came crashing down, bending the spear of the underworld. Underworld Child only felt the immense pressure. The armor on his body was about to crack. "Damn it, get lost!" He roared angrily at the sky, fury of the underworld god. His bloodline erupted, and a huge phantom appeared. It stood indomitable and directly blasted away the sword qi with a punch. Underworld Child's face turned pale. However, before he could react, the second sword strike came. The Qianquan sword transformed into water. This sword qi transformed into endless seawater that swept in all directions. Lin Xian's Qianquan sword technique was self-created. Together with the great dragon sword soul, it could transform into anything. At the same time, he also combined divine abilities and immortal spells. For example, this sword transformation was formed by the sky-water sword technique that he had comprehended before. With a slash of the sword, the entire sky turned into seawater and a huge vortex condensed, using softness to overcome strength and sweeping everything. As expected, Underworld Child was entangled by this force and seemed to be unable to escape. His legs were actually shattered by this strangling force, and he let out a miserable cry. "Ah!" He roared at the sky, his black hair fluttering. The underworld divine ability, Underworld God Bell. A terrifying black bell appeared and enveloped him, blocking the terrifying whirlpool of seawater. At the same time, he formed a hand seal with his palm, and a terrifying vibration came from the Underworld God Bell. This was the sound of death, enough to take away all life. "Oh, no! Retreat!" Bloodthirsty Princess and the others saw this scene and frantically retreated. They all retreated from the valley. Lin Xian bore the brunt of the impact. The endless aura of death hit his body, making a deafening sound. Lin Xian roared at the sky. Divine body illuminates heaven and earth. The phantom of 9 suns appeared on his body, surrounding everything to block the sound. Buzz. At this critical moment, demonic qi rolled behind him, and a demonic shadow appeared. At the same time, a black demonic zither appeared in front of him. He wanted to play the demonic tune. Chapter 57:45. The demonic shadow had just moved. Lin Xian snorted coldly. "You don't have to come out." He formed a seal with his palm and closed the shadow. In the illusory demon scripture, the demonic shadow turned into clouds and dissipated. As for Lin Xian, an extremely terrifying radiance erupted from his eyes. Without the inheritance of the demon emperor, he couldn't resist it. Was this a joke? The demonic shadow was so strange. He wouldn't let it continue to be arrogant. This time, Lin Xian used his self-created technique against the heavens technique, immortal technique, Qian Kuan sword song, wild dragon roar. He activated the Dharma, an endless sword chi condensed in front of him. Lin Xian gently played the zither, and the sword aura emitted a sword hum. At the same time, 9 wild dragons condensed. They looked up to the sky and let out the angriest roars they had ever heard. These sounds were enough to tear the world apart. The entire valley shattered again. The boundless sky cracked open, blocking the sound of death. Qian Kuan sword song, dragon dance in the 9 heavens. After the 9 wild dragons shattered the sound of death, they rushed into the sky and attacked the god of Hell Bel. Then they danced wildly, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. Dragon claws, dragon scales, dragon tails, dragon heads, all kinds of attacks. They all blasted on the god of Hell Bel, making earth-shattering sounds. The god of Hell Bel shook violently, and the underworld child's blood boiled inside. Finally, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Not good. On the ship of the underworld, the 2 elders saw the scene and whispered, "Your Highness, be careful." They were stunned. They didn't expect the enemy to be so powerful. The underworld child had used the god of Hell Bel, but he still couldn't block it. Crack! There was a shattering sound, and cracks appeared on the god of Hell Bel. The underworld child also retreated. His body was torn apart by the dragon claws, and his bones were exposed. He retreated to a distance, and his face was extremely ugly. Lin Xian, like a sword god, had a cold expression. He looked at the other party and said, "I told you you are no match for me. What other divine powers do you have?" The underworld child's face became extremely ferocious. He gritted his teeth and used the god of underworld's inheritance to restore his body. At the same time, he shouted angrily, "You used an immortal technique. Are you from the deity ground?" Once those words were spoken, the people in the distance were also astonished. The pupils of the bloodthirsty princess and the others contracted. A deity ground? To think that the other party actually came from that mysterious place. Although they were from hell, they knew very well that hell was different. A mysterious land had appeared in the universe, and it was none other than the celestial land. The arrival of the deity ground had caused the entire universe to undergo earth-shaking changes. Hell was also recovering its power and had reached a new peak. It was as if they had returned to the ancient golden age. In fact, they had even considered leaving hell one day and going to the celestial land to explore. Let's see what kind of mysterious characters there are. However, the people of the celestial land had already arrived before they could even make their way there. So, what if it was an immortal technique? My divine ability will definitely not lose to yours. I'm the son of Hades' emperor, and I have peerless divine abilities. Today, I'll show you. This was the power of the netherworld monarch's divine ability. The underworld prince uttered a furious roar as he unleashed the full potential of his bloodline. At that moment, crimson runes actually appeared on his body. The heavenly melody of the great Tao was roaring there. The bloodline of a great emperor was simply too powerful. At this moment, the underworld prince's battle prowess could still increase. The broken underworld god armor on his body reformed again. At the same time, the underworld god bell appeared behind him. Although there were cracks on it, its power was still extremely terrifying. The underworld prince was not done yet. He performed another peerless divine ability. His left hand suddenly enlarged, as if it had turned into a mountain. His arm also lengthened to a few hundred meters long, and it was covered with scales. A terrifying aura spread out. What is this? The surrounding people were all stunned when they saw this scene. Gu Feng and the others were all dumbfounded. They had never seen such a terrifying thing before. Luo Xiao exclaimed, "This is spirit transformation. I heard that Hades' Emperor's inheritance is very terrifying. There is a peerless divine ability that can transform any part of the body into a peerless monster." They had only heard of it before, but they had never thought that it really existed, and that the underworld prince had used it. On the ship of the underworld, the two old men also heaved a sigh of relief when they saw this scene. The white-haired old man sneered, "That person from the deity ground is dead meat." The black-haired old man also said, "That's right. No matter how strong an immortal spell is, it can't be compared to a divine ability. Let him see our hell's peerless divine ability." The underworld prince looked up to the sky and roared. His left hand had turned into a huge monster that kept rolling around, for limbs grew out of it and a head with scales. Then a monster appeared in the void and roared at the sky. This was really too strange. The underworld prince's left hand turned into a monster, and it was an extremely terrifying peerless monster. That demonic beast was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and looked forward. He saw that the monster's eyes were shining with green light. Its head was like a wolf's, and its fangs were all over. However, there were also extremely terrifying scales on its body, and they were extremely black. They emitted the aura of death. The monster's claws were even more terrifying, and they shone with blood-red light. With a gentle wave, it shattered the void. Fairy Hanzhou gasped. She said, "Why do I feel that this monster looks so familiar? As if I've seen it before?" The bloodthirsty princess exclaimed, "Isn't this the underworld wolf god from the 18 levels of hell?" Hearing this, the others also remembered. The 18 levels of hell were extremely terrifying, and countless terrifying existences were suppressed there. Although they had never entered it before, it had been passed down for countless years after all. Some strong people had entered it and successfully came out alive. These strong people who came out wrote countless legends about what they saw inside. There were even some patterns that appeared. This underworld wolf god was one of them. The monster was suppressed in one of the 18 levels of hell. It was extremely terrifying. Many families even had portraits and scrolls of the monster, but they had never seen it with their own eyes. Now, the underworld prince had used a peerless divine ability to transform the underworld wolf god. It was incredible. The theurgy of Atharch was indeed terrifying. Roar! The underworld wolf god was transformed, and it roared at the sky. The underworld prince also snorted coldly. "Kid, you made me use such a peerless divine ability. You can die in peace." Then he waved his left hand, and the underworld wolf god rushed out, its 4 limbs dancing. The wolf head roared and launched a peerless attack. The entire valley was shattered. Everyone retreated again, their hair standing on end. Lin Xian's figure flickered, and sword light flashed under his feet. He dodged the attack. The underworld wolf god tore the original place into pieces. The underworld prince sneered, "It's useless, kid. You can't dodge it." Although the underworld wolf god was a monster, it was still a part of his body, and was extremely agile. Coupled with his cooperation, it could be said that no one was a match for it. Sure enough, after the attack missed, the underworld wolf god instantly turned around. Its terrifying claws tore at the back. Lin Xian snorted coldly and waved his sword Qi, colliding with the other party's claws. It made an earth-shattering sound. This time, the sword Qi didn't completely shatter the other party's claws. One could imagine how terrifying the underworld wolf god was. Chapter 5746. Great, we've suppressed that kid. Now, it's time for that kid to die. Gu Feng and the others snickered. Luo Luo, on the other hand, was in despair. Luo Xiao sighed. This is what happens when you go against the emperors. No one can save you. Kid, do you see that? That's the difference between us. Die in despair. Underworld child blocked the sword chi that filled the sky, and a confident smile appeared on his face. No matter how powerful your immortal spells are, they'll never be a match for divine powers. So, you can die now. He activated the underworld wolf deity and waved his arms. The beast covered the sky and the earth, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. With a furious roar, the sky shook and the earth shook. Even the stars in the sky were about to fall. Lin Xian snorted. Is that so? So, what if you have a peerless divine power? I'll let you have a taste of my peerless divine power. A cold light flashed in his eyes. The people around him went crazy when they heard that. What was this kid talking about? He was going to use a peerless divine power too? Was he kidding? He was from the deity ground. How could he have a peerless divine power? These people had never been to the celestial land. So they thought that the people in the celestial land used immortal spells. How would they know? Even in the deity ground, there were a few people who used divine powers. Not to mention, Lin Xian's divine power was even more terrifying. The divine fire seed between his brows shone brightly. Lin Xian stomped his foot and rushed over. A pair of dragon wings appeared on his back. They flapped gently and tore apart the storm. In an instant, he was in front of the underworld wolf deity and struck with his right hand. His right hand turned into a huge seal. A dragon head bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Boom! The dragon head and the underworld wolf deity collided with an earth-shattering sound. The space in the sky shattered. The underworld wolf deity was knocked back, and its light dimmed. How was that possible? Underworld child exclaimed. He could feel the power of the divine fire on his opponent. No, it was clearly the power of immortal chi just now. How did it become the power of the divine fire? This kid actually knew a peerless divine power. He couldn't be a true divine power practitioner, right? Gu Feng and the others were stunned. They had never heard of anyone who knew immortal spells and divine abilities. It must be an illusion. Impossible? Lin Xian smiled. Then I'll beat you until you believe me. The right hand was easy, but the left hand was the Nine Suns' divine fist. The fist on his left hand turned into a terrifying sun and danced continuously, attacking with both fists. No matter how strong the underworld wolf deity was, he was beaten back repeatedly. Its body was finally forced back. A series of explosions rang out. The great apocalypse took place between heaven and earth. The underworld child was also knocked back. The underworld wolf god was only his left hand. However, at this moment, it was being suppressed, and a crack had appeared on its surface. Lin Xian said, "Did you see that? In terms of supernatural power, you are not as good as me." Damn it, I don't believe it. Underworld child was going crazy. Although, I don't know, how did you use a peerless divine ability? However, my divine ability is not limited to this. On his left hand, blood suddenly gushed out from the cracked body of the underworld wolf god, releasing an extremely terrifying radiance. The emperor's bloodline dyed the underworld wolf god's entire body, as if it was covered in a layer of blood-colored battle armor. In the next moment, the underworld wolf god roared into the sky. The red nomological laws on its body bloomed, as if they had turned into the power of an ancient demon beast. It actually became extremely powerful again. Kill. This time, its body became tens of thousands of meters long. Like a peerless divine beast, it rushed over crazily. What a reckless thing. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and an extremely terrifying light burst out from his eyes. Dragon scales appeared on his body. Dragon transformation. His entire body seemed to have turned into a dragon sword as he rushed over. The peerless sharpness cut through everything. Boom. Roar. The sky collapsed, and the earth cracked. The storm swept through the sky, and was pierced through. Endless black holes bobbed up and down. At the same time, the behemoth that was tens of thousands of meters long fell to the side of the valley. A 1,000-layer storm was stirred up. In the dust, there were screams. The emperor's blood dripped down. The underworld child clutched his broken arm, his entire body trembling in fear. "How dare you hurt me?" This voice made everyone go crazy. Was he injured? In the sky, the pupils of the two old men on the underworld's ship shrank. "Your Highness," they cried out in alarm, because they saw that the underworld child's left hand was directly cut off, and the underworld wolf god fell to the ground. How was this possible? The other party actually broke through the underworld emperor's peerless divine ability. They all went crazy. The bloodthirsty princess Gufeng and the others were also dumbfounded after seeing this. They couldn't believe it. Luo Xiao was so scared that he knelt on the ground. The underworld child was defeated again, and he was even seriously injured. This was completely beyond his expectations. What was that punch just now? He saw the other party transform into a dragon sword and cut through heaven and earth with a sword. Could the other party also transform into a spirit? They didn't know. At this moment, everyone was stunned. "Do you still think you're my match now?" The dragon scales on Lin Xian's body disappeared, and he returned to normal. He took large strides forward. The broken underworld wolf god still wanted to fight back. However, Lin Xian directly transformed into a sword steel and suppressed it. The sword steel pierced through heaven and earth, piercing the other party and nailing it to the ground. The other party couldn't resist at all. Then Lin Xian formed a circle with his hands, and a Taiji diagram appeared and floated above the underworld child's body. The Taiji diagram's yin and yang laws made the underworld child vomit blood. Did I lose? I actually lost. I can't accept it. The underworld child frantically resisted and hit the Taiji diagram. However, the Taiji diagram became more and more terrifying, and it firmly suppressed the underworld child. Lin Xian exerted force in his palm, and the Taiji diagram drooped down. The yin and yang sword chi pierced through the underworld child's body. The underworld child let out a miserable cry. "No, stop, damn brat. How dare you hurt my highness? Let him go." On the underworld boat, the two old men finally couldn't take it anymore. They quickly rushed down. They wanted to save their highness. They stretched out their underworld palms. The huge black palms blotted out the sky and covered the earth. It was extremely terrifying and vicious. Lin Xian sneered and used the 9-sun palm to resist. The golden palms pierced through heaven and earth. At the same time, the 6 paths of reincarnation in his eyes directly attacked the other party's soul. A rumbling sound rang out. The two old men held their heads and screamed. Blood dripped from their foreheads. Their souls were severely injured. It was too powerful. Not only did the other party block their attacks alone, but he also injured them. It was a soul attack just now. Not only did this brat know immortal spells, but he also knew divine powers. More importantly, a soul attack. It was also so terrifying. What kind of divine being was this? "Who are you?" The white-haired old man gritted his teeth and asked. The black-haired old man also said, "Stop. What do you want? We can talk. There are countless treasures in our underworld god palace, and we have all kinds of cultivation techniques and inheritances. As long as you state your conditions, we will satisfy you." The underworld child stopped his wounds. His face was ferocious, but he didn't say a word. However, his eyes were burning with flames. As long as he had the chance, he wouldn't let the other party off. Lin Xian didn't make any requests. Instead, he stood with his hands behind his back. He asked indifferently, Are you convinced? Chapter 5747. Underworld Child was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. His opponent was slapping him in the face. Not only did he defeat him, but he also wanted to make him bow his head. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. His eyes went black, and he fainted. Your Highness, the two elders were extremely anxious. However, they didn't dare to act rashly. That was because the shock that Lin Xian gave them was simply too great. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He opened his rinnegan and pierced into Underworld Child's soul. Underworld Child was awakened by the pain and screamed crazily. Lin Xian said, "You're so weak that you can't even take this little blow. All right, I'll make my request now. Take me to see Emperor Ming." "What? You want to see my father?" Underworld Child was completely stunned. Even the two old men's pupils shrank. What exactly was the other party plotting? However, they breathed a sigh of relief. No matter what the other party was planning, as long as they saw Emperor Ming, it would all be in vain. In front of a martial monarch, there was nothing that could be done. So they said, "That's easy. We'll take you there now." Lin Xian nodded and said, "When I see Emperor Ming, I'll let him go." He sent out a dragon-shaped sword energy into Underworld Child's body. Underworld Child felt the sharpness in his body. As long as he resisted, the sword chi would destroy his martial arts foundation in an instant. He was so scared that his face turned pale, and he clenched his fists. "Damn kid, just you wait. When I see my father, I'll ask him to kill you." He roared in his heart. Lin Xian turned and said to Luo in the distance, "When you return to the family, tell the people of the Yellow Spring sect. If they dare to hurt you again, I'll make them wish they were dead." "Brother Lin!" Luo shouted. Luo Xiao was even more shocked. The other party had done so much just to see Emperor Ming. That was too crazy. The other party had injured Underworld Child and wanted to see Emperor Ming. Didn't they know how to write the word death? Who could resist the wrath of the emperor? When the two elders saw Luo Xiao, they frowned. How could they not know her? Luo Xiao was a new core disciple. How could she be related to this person? Killing intent appeared in their eyes. However, he didn't make a move. Instead, he said, "Young master, please, we will take you to Hades." Lin Xian nodded. With a wave of his hand, he rose into the air with his name. They arrived at the ship of the underworld. In the next moment, the underworld ship danced about, tearing apart the void, disappearing without a trace. Did he leave? Gu Feng heaved a sigh of relief. As for Bloodthirsty Princess and the others, their expressions were grave. Who exactly was he? They did not know. However, this matter quickly spread. As a result, many people knew that an extremely terrifying expert had arrived in hell. On the underworld ship, everyone looked at Lin Xian as if they were facing a great enemy. They were afraid that he would suddenly attack. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged. He wasn't worried that these people would launch a sneak attack, because Netherchild's life was still in his hands. He closed his eyes and rested to recover his strength. Let's take a look. Has his clone dug up any treasures in the real world? The progress made was pretty good. That was because he had indeed discovered another item. Other than the universe ring, their clones had discovered another item in the real world. They had only dug out a corner. It was also metal. However, it seemed to be a treasure. Lin Xian once again condensed a few clones and told them to hurry up and dig. Now, he knew that his sword world was one of the 10 lands, and it was also an ancient land. He didn't know how many treasures and endless secrets were buried in it. He wanted to dig as much as possible. After walking around again, he found 2 fruits in the sword world. Lin Xian ate them and felt refreshed. It seemed that the power of the laws and the divine fire had become stronger. This made him happy. At this moment, The people on the ship of the underworld were also excited, especially Netherchild, who stood up and looked into the distance. Lin Xian also opened his eyes and looked forward. In the next moment, he was also shocked. He took a deep breath. He saw the nether chi rolling in front of him. An enormous object appeared. It was a palace that was incomparably black and towered between the heavens and the earth. This palace was very huge, as if it was a world. Moreover, the aura on it was extremely terrifying. It carried the power of a great emperor. This was the underworld temple, the palace where the great emperor lived. They had arrived. The two elders were excited. Netherchild glared at Lin Xian. He had become unscrupulous now. The reason for that was because his father would definitely be able to sense his existence in that place. As long as the other party made a move, his father would immediately protect him and kill the other party. Thinking of this, he couldn't wait. He soared into the air and shouted, "Father, please avenge me." His voice reached the underworld temple in front of him. This temple was like a world. Not only was there Nether Emperor, but there were also countless powerhouses and geniuses. When these people heard the shout, their expressions changed. Their Nether child was in danger. What was going on? These people rushed out in an overwhelming manner. There were millions of them, and they were still increasing. In an instant, the entire ship of the underworld was enveloped. The two old men also stood guard by Mingyu's side. They said, "Take this kid down." He dared to threaten and injure Netherchild. What? The powerhouses who had arrived were instantly enraged. Countless gazes were all fixed on Lin Xian. They pierced through the void around him. Did this kid eat a leopard's guts? How dare he fight against the underworld temple? He was the one who was reckless. Attack. Countless angry roars sounded. These people attacked. Thousands of Dharma laws and divine powers swept over, covering the sky and earth. No matter what kind of powerhouse the other party was, they would all be turned into ashes. Netherchild sneered. Lin Xian's face darkened. He waved his hand, and the sky-devouring jar appeared. He slapped it forward. With a bang, the aura exploded. It devoured the sky and the earth. The attacks of millions of powerhouses were all swallowed up. Not only that, this extreme Tao aura made the millions of powerhouses vomit blood and fly backward. This scene was extremely spectacular. Lin Xian had single-handedly swept through the myriad of worlds. Netherchild's pupils shrank when he saw this scene. The two elders were also dumbfounded. Lin Xian walked over like a demon god. He said, "Do you want to die? I can send you to hell in advance." How is this possible? Who are you? Why do you have the extreme Tao aura? Netherchild was also scared, out of his wits. Who is he? How dare he behave so atrociously in the underworld temple? Do you think I don't exist? A cold voice sounded, and the great emperor's aura spread. In an instant, all the injuries of the million injured experts were completely healed. This was the power of a great emperor. It was omnipotent. At the same time, a huge force pressed down on Lin Xian. The sky-devouring jar returned to Lin Xian's side. The black vortex blocked the great emperor's aura. This scene shocked the underworld emperor, who was inside. In the next moment, endless nether energy spread out, forming a huge, hazy phantom that looked down from the sky. Who are you? Is that the sky-devouring jar in your hand? Chapter 5748. My name is Lin Xian. You can also call me Lin Wudi. The thing in my hand is indeed the sky-swallowing jar. Lin Wudi? Shameless ant. How dare you call yourself invincible? Underworld child's disdainful voice rang out. Father, kill him. How dare he injure me? Underworld child roared crazily. Hades harumphed coldly, useless thing. You have my bloodline and my legacy. How could you lose to an outsider? Underworld child trembled in fear. Father, I was wrong. I was careless. Even now, he still insisted that he was careless. Lin Xian smiled. You don't have to make things difficult for him. Even if you give him another chance, he's still no match for me. Besides, he's not the first crown prince to be defeated by me. Not only have I defeated several crown princes, but I've even killed one with my own hands. Lin Xian's voice made Underworld Child's pupils constrict. Was this guy crazy? Underworld Emperor snorted. Little ant, how dare you be so presumptuous in front of me? Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? Don't think that you can compete with me just because you have the sky-swallowing jar. As an emperor, he was high and mighty. He was really angry. However, Lin Xian said, I'm here this time because I have something to discuss with you. Maybe we can work together. Work together? Ha ha ha. Underworld Emperor's voice rang out, shaking heaven and earth. The people of the Underworld God Palace around him also laughed. This guy was crazy. How dare he work together with the Emperor? Who was he? He was just 6th crown king. How could he be compared to the Emperor? Stupid thing. Countless mocking voices rang out. Lin Xian, on the other hand, remained calm. He said, This time, I'm here for the 9th serenity. What did you say? Underworld Emperor's voice suddenly became sharp. He couldn't believe it, because ordinary people didn't know about this place. It wasn't a huge secret in Jiuqian City, but only Emperor-level figures knew about it. How did this kid know about it? 9 Netherlands? What was that? Sure enough, Underworld Child didn't know either. However, Underworld Emperor said coldly, You come in. What? Father let him in. Underworld Child was shocked. The surrounding experts were also stunned. Does this kid really have a shocking background? Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. He walked forward and soon entered the huge Underworld God Palace. The aura in the Underworld God Hall was even more terrifying. However, Lin Xian was not afraid at all. The hall was spacious and empty. There was no one in sight. However, there was a supreme aura surrounding it, as if it was pressing down on Lin Xian, forcing him to kneel. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Swallow him up, heaven-swallowing jar, opening the sword world. A terrifying power poured into the heaven-swallowing jar, protecting him. Tell me, how do you know about the 9th underworld? Who on earth sent you here? A cold voice sounded. Lin Xian took out the token his father had given him and raised it to the sky. He said, Feel the aura on this token. In the sky, a terrifying aura gathered and enveloped the token. Emperor Hades gasped in shock. This aura belonged to him. He could feel several terrifying auras on it. There was also a supreme flame that was throbbing in the sky. Was he from the god realm? They had really recovered. The void cracked open, and Emperor Hades walked over. He was a tall and handsome man with a head of black hair that danced in the wind. His chiseled face made it hard to believe that he was a great emperor who had lived for countless years. Lin Xian was also surprised. This was Emperor Hades. Sure enough, he could feel an extremely terrifying emperor's aura from him. In that case, you are also from the god realm. However, your god realm was destroyed by the otherworld, Heavenly King. Now that you have made a comeback, can you contend against the otherworld, Heavenly King? I don't want to be involved in your battle. Lin Xian said, This is not something you can decide. As far as I know, the otherworld, Heavenly King, has also sent people here, and they have already arrived in hell. Emperor Hades frowned slightly. He realized that the young man in front of him did not seem to be afraid of him at all. This made him a little angry. However, when he heard the other party's words, his expression darkened. The reason for that was because he had indeed sensed an enormous aura descending upon them. However, it had been well hidden. Now it seemed that it was the otherworld, Heavenly King. Kid, are you so confident that I will choose the god realm? Why don't I choose the otherworld, Heavenly King? He was even more powerful. because if he chose the otherworld heavenly king, he would lose his freedom. The price was very high. This was Lin Xian's guess. However, he still said it out loud. Emperor Hades fell silent after hearing it. Lin Xian knew that he had guessed correctly. The Lord of the Otherworld, Heavenly King, was very ambitious. He wanted to control the entire universe and even the 10 lands. Now that he had seized the power of the 9 underworlds, he would unite with the other great emperors. However, in the end, these great emperors would also kneel and submit. What do you want me to do? Emperor Hades turned his back to Lin Xian, his icy voice echoing through the air. If you want me to go against the God realm, I will not. Unless you are strong enough to contend with the otherworld heavenly king, you don't need to go against them directly. You just need to find the 2 blank steels. That thing. Emperor Hades shook his head. The 3 of us are searching for it, but there is little news. I have an item that might be of use to you. After Lin Xian finished speaking, he waved his hand, and the Minotaur statue appeared in his palm. Emperor Hades saw it from the corner of his eye and spun around. He exclaimed, "You have this thing? The primordial Minotaur." He was really too surprised. The young man in front of him was really beyond his expectations. With this thing, we might be able to deduce the whereabouts of one of the blank steels. Emperor Hades waved his hand and grabbed the Minotaur statue. Lin Xian didn't resist. Since they wanted to cooperate, he would trust them. He wasn't here on his own. He was here to represent the God realm. Behind the God realm stood a group of powerhouses. There were probably many great emperors as well. After all, they had been able to contend with the otherworld heavenly king. Although they had been defeated, it was enough to show their strength. They were far above the rest. Emperor Hades' body surged with terrifying flames. This was the fire of the underworld god. It was extremely mysterious. The general was surrounded by the Minotaur statue. Mysterious runes appeared on the Minotaur statue again. It was as if the great Tao was surrounding it. Then the Minotaur statue floated in the air. Thousands of rays of light shone from above. Lin Xian was shocked when he saw it. He had tried countless methods before, but none of them worked. He didn't expect that it would require the power of a great emperor. Images appeared in the eyes of the Minotaur statue. Lin Xian was shocked when he saw it. This must have something to do with the blank steels. The reason for that was because he had indeed seen a steel without any words on it. It was just that Lin Xian had no idea where the other party was pointing at. He could only look at Emperor Hades. Emperor Hades was also shocked. So it was here. How surprising. If not for these clues, I wouldn't have been able to figure it out. Does that mean you know where it is? Kid, don't you have any respect for me? Emperor Hades suddenly lowered his head and stared at Lin Xian. A cold, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The surrounding space crumbled instantly. Lin Xian felt like he was in an endless vortex. Chapter 5749. The anger of a great emperor was too terrifying. No one could resist it. It seemed that Ming-Di was about to turn hostile. Lin Xian felt immense pressure. He roared and opened his sword Shadow World. Endless power surged out. He struck out with a shocking attack. A terrifying black hole blocked the surrounding power. At the same time, endless light burst out from his eyes. A dragon-shaped sword energy rushed out. It tore through heaven and earth with a sharp aura. Ming-Di, I advise you to stop. Don't make a mistake. Lin Xian shouted coldly. He could block it. Ming-Di was shocked. He didn't expect that a small ant like him would have so much power. It seemed that the god realm valued him. In the next moment, he smiled and put away the fire of the underworld god. He said, I'm just joking with you. Okay, let's work together. I can help you block the other great emperors. Then I'll send some underworld god hall experts to go with you. But I want to know what you can give me. I can give you a promise. Lin Xian said. What promise? I'll let you in after we conquer the 9th underworld. It's a good offer. I can't refuse. But are you sure you can open the 9th underworld? It's not an ordinary place. It's one of the legendary Jiutian Shitty. It's very difficult and mysterious. Are you sure? If I say I can. Lin Xian's eyes were full of confidence. What an arrogant kid. However, I sensed the aura of a great emperor on the token more than once. So, I believe you this time. With a wave of his hand, the Minotaur statue was given to Lin Xian again. Then he said, the place is at the Bridge of Helplessness. I'll have Underworld Child, and the Underworld God Hall experts go with you. Okay. Lin Xian nodded. Ming Di waved his hand and sent out a stream of energy. Before long, another figure appeared in the Underworld God Hall. It was Underworld Child. Greetings, Father. Underworld Child bowed, respectfully. He was also surprised to see that Lin Xian was still alive. Did Father really not kill him? Later, take the Underworld God Hall experts with you. And this Lin Gongzi. They would head to the Bridge of Helplessness together to obtain the wordless heavenly steel. With him, Underworld Child was stunned. Why? Since his imperial father already knew about the wordless heavenly steel, Chu Feng had no choice but to accept it. We should have killed him and kept him for ourselves. Don't be rude. Lin Gongzi is my honored guest. If you dare to be rude again, I'll punish you according to the family rules. Hurry up and apologize. Underworld Child's pupils contracted. Father, please forgive me. I was wrong. He was really shocked. He didn't expect this young man to have such a background, to be able to become Imperial Father's guest. He was horrified. Lin Gongzi, I'm sorry for offending you before. Please forgive me. Underworld Child hurriedly lowered his head. For the sake of Emperor Hades, I'll spare you this time. Lin Xian said in a deep voice. All right, let's get moving. I believe it won't take long for the other 2 martial monarchs to learn about it. Qin Nan nodded. There was no time to lose, so they had to act quickly. Lin Xian also took a deep breath. Underworld Child had gathered countless experts of the Underworld God Hall. Together, they set off toward the Bridge of Helplessness. Emperor Hades was the only one left in the spacious hall. He narrowed his eyes. Interesting guy. The sky-devouring jar. I also sensed another sharp aura from him. Could it be the great dragon sword? Apart from that, there's also a demonic aura. This guy has so many different powers. How interesting. If this guy became a martial monarch, he would definitely be a terrifying force. Perhaps he could give Higgin a headache. At the thought of Higgin, Emperor Hades's face darkened. Was choosing Higgin the right choice? He took a deep breath, and his eyes flashed. Emperor Hades, did you make the right choice back then? Emperor Hades's guess was right. The other 2 martial monarchs' forces also began to move. The Acheron Palace, surrounded by endless yellow springs. This was the Acheron Emperor's sect. After the Acheron Emperor learned about the situation with the Minotaur statue, his eyes shone with endless light. He summoned the 7 halls. He ordered the 7 hall masters to bring countless experts over. They must get the immemorial Minotaur. At the 7 halls, countless figures rode the 7 streams of yellow springs and soared into the sky, disappearing from sight. The White Bone Cave was the ancient emperor's sect. In the White Bone Cave, the bones of countless experts were reborn, turning into a forest. In the depths of the White Bone Cave, 2 figures stood. One was the pink skull. The other was half a frog. She was the green-robed emperor. This time, she came with the mission of Higgin. She chose Emperor Bone. If you succeed this time, I will recommend you to join Higgin. At that time, your immortal chi will increase again, and your strength will improve. This was the green-robed emperor's condition. Emperor Bone was also tempted. There were strong and weak martial monarchs. This realm was indeed strong. However, to take another step forward, it was truly too difficult. The power of ordinary worlds was not enough. Even martial monarchs could control hundreds of worlds in an instant, but it was useless. Only a more mysterious power could do it. For example, the power of Jyotian Shidi. Higgin controlled the land of eternity, which contained mysterious power. If he could join it, he could definitely increase his strength again. Don't worry, I will help you complete the mission. This time, I really have a clue. The Bone Emperor was a pink skeleton. She laughed softly. There was a wisp of immortal chi around her body. At this moment, it bloomed with light. Then, a mask appeared in her palm. What was this? The green-robed emperor was also surprised. The White Bone Emperor said, Oxhead and Horseface are the two great experts of the ancient era. Legend has it that they left behind two things, each containing two secrets. Oxhead, I have no news for the time being. However, I got Horseface. This is Horseface. What news? The green-robed emperor was also surprised. Did it have anything to do with their mission this time? I sense the news from it. It's about a wordless heavenly steel in the Dead Soul Abyss. You have to know that if you want to enter the 9 underworlds, you have to enter the 18 levels of hell. You have to bring the wordless heavenly steel to enter the 17th level. You have to open the 17th level to enter the 18th level. Therefore, the wordless heavenly steel is extremely important. This is one of them. Very good. The green-robed emperor was also happy. This time, choosing Emperor Bone was the best choice. To be honest, before he came, he was also a little hesitant, because he originally wanted to choose the other one, which was Emperor Ming. However, in the end, he gave up, because Emperor Ming was related to Emperor Xian. Previously, he had just snatched something from the descendant of Emperor Xian. In addition, he had an inexplicable dislike for Emperor Xian back then. Therefore, he did not choose Emperor Ming. Now, it seemed that he was right, because Emperor Ming definitely did not have any clues. Since we know, let's go. With the strength of the two of us, it shouldn't be a problem for us to obtain this wordless heavenly steel, right? The White Bone Emperor also nodded. Yes, that's right. We have to speed up. We can't let the other two guys know. The White Bone Cave also secretly took action. The other two great emperors did not notice the White Bone Cave's actions, because they each had their own goals. Emperor Ming and Lin Xian had joined forces, and the Yellow Spring Great Emperor's goal was also Lin Xian. This time, they followed him all the way. They all set off towards the Bridge of Helplessness. Chapter 5750. Withered vines, old trees, flowing water, small bridges. The surroundings were very quiet. Only the sound of crows could be heard. The endless army landed, but they didn't make any sound. 2 young men led the army. They were Lin Xian and Underworld Child. Lin Xian controlled the Minotaur statue. Light burst out from his eyes and shrouded the surroundings. He said, "Find the Bridge of Helplessness first." Underworld Child said, "This is the Bridge of Helplessness." He was unhappy. His father actually told him to listen to the other party. How despicable. However, this was his father's decision. He really didn't dare to disobey. He could only say coldly, "Here?" He looked at the mossy bridge under his feet. Lin Xian was also surprised. No way. The legendary Bridge of Helplessness in hell should be very mysterious. How could it be so desolate? Moreover, it's too simple. Therefore, my father is also very surprised. He didn't expect that the wordless heavenly tablet would be here. To be honest, we can only rely on the two of us this time. My father has to stop the other great emperors. If you don't have a way, I'm afraid we'll have to search for several years. There is a way. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Let your men attack this Bridge of Helplessness. What? Your crazy underworld child shouted angrily. I'm the one in charge of this operation. Do you dare to disobey my orders? Lin Xian said coldly. Underworld child snorted and said, Attack! The surrounding powerhouses attacked crazily. They attacked the small bridge under their feet. Rumbling sounds rang out, and the surrounding wind swept over. Those crows also flapped their wings and flew away quickly. After a series of crazy attacks, everyone stopped, but their brows were tightly knitted. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It's really strange. Such a simple bridge can withstand the attacks of so many powerhouses. It's really the bridge of helplessness. They attacked again. Since he had discovered the other party's strangeness, Lin Xian wouldn't stop. Next, the powerhouses of the underworld temple attacked crazily. Rumbling sounds rang out in all directions. Fortunately, this place was relatively desolate. Usually, no one would come here, so no one paid attention to it. However, in the sky, there was an extremely terrifying yellow spring dancing crazily. Someone displayed great magical force, forming a pair of yellow spring's eyes, piercing through heaven and earth. He sensed its aura. An expert with glowing eyes said. The others changed directions and quickly flew away. Not long after, they heard a rumbling sound before them. That should be the bridge of helplessness. They were attacking the bridge of helplessness. From the looks of it, something was indeed going on. Impact, the yellow spring water moved even faster. Each stream of yellow spring water was 1,000,000 miles long. As it descended, it enveloped the entire world. The people attacking from below also raised their heads to look at the sky. Underworld child's expression changed. The yellow spring water was dripping. The people of the yellow spring sect were here. Damn it, they actually came so quickly. Lin Xian also frowned. That shouldn't be the case. How did these people find him? Could it be because of him? He had fought with those from the Yellow Spring sect in the past. Perhaps the other party had used his aura to track him down. He said, Stop attacking and get ready for a big battle. Everyone stopped. The cold aura on them became even more terrifying and shot into the sky. Underworld child shouted coldly, People of the Yellow Spring sect, get out of here. In the yellow spring water, countless experts filled the air. Some terrifying figures swept across. Among them, there was a man wearing black armor standing in the sky. Under his feet, the yellow spring water surged. Next to him, there was a man with strange eyes that shrouded the entire area. Not long after, he stared at Lin Xian and said, Hall Master, it's him. The man in black armor was the Dark Hall Master. At this moment, he lowered his head and stared at Lin Xian. It's you who killed 100,000 of my Dark Hall army. You snatched the Minotaur statue. Underworld child also frowned. They are coming for you. You really deserve to die. This is going to be troublesome. Lin Xian snorted. Shut up. They will come sooner or later. Since they are here, just get rid of them. What's the use of complaining? Underworld child was furious. In addition to the Yellow Spring sect, there is also the White Bone Cave. Let's see what you can do then. Lin Xian walked out. He looked up at the sky and said, Yes, the Minotaur statue is in my hands. Do you want it? He waved his hand, and the Minotaur statue appeared. The other people's eyes turned red. The Dark Hall Master said, Hand over the Minotaur statue, and I will give you a quick death. Lin Xian smiled. He didn't answer. Instead, he suddenly attacked. Reincarnation appeared in his eyes. It turned into 6 phantoms and suppressed the people in front of him. He didn't attack the Dark Hall Master. Instead, he attacked the man next to him, whose eyes were shining with golden light. He saw that the man's eye technique was special. It should be the other party who had discovered his tracks. He couldn't let such a person live. Boom. The power of reincarnation exploded. The man with shining eyes screamed. His eyes were bleeding. He looked very miserable. Damn it, how dare you hurt him? The Dark Hall Master was also angry. Kill. With a loud roar, a black fist came crashing down. Do you think we are weak? Underworld Child shouted angrily. This time, he also brought the masters of the Underworld God Hall. Immediately, the masters went up to meet him. The Dark Hall Master shouted angrily, "Take this kid down." A great battle broke out. The masters of the Dark Hall rushed down crazily. However, the people of the other halls didn't seem to take action. They were still looking at each other coldly. Someone asked, "Hall Master, shouldn't we do it?" A woman said, "Let's use the Dark Hall to check his strength first." The Dark Hall was also full of masters. Underworld Child waved his hand. The masters of the Underworld God Hall behind him rushed into the sky. However, someone still arrived in front of Lin Xian. It was a burly man who was hundreds of meters tall. However, his whole body was rotten. He opened his mouth and spat out a terrifying stream of water from the yellow spring. The water from the yellow spring corroded the entire void. It carried an extremely strong law of the yellow spring. It wanted to envelop Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted and punched out. The 9 suns' divine fire turned into a golden crow and spread its wings. It directly evaporated all the water from the yellow spring. Not only that, the golden crow even split open the body of the rotting man. There was no blood, only some rotten corpse water sprinkled from the sky. It was disgusting. Die. At this moment, the void shattered. A monster appeared behind Lin Xian. It had a human head and a horse body. He raised his hoof and slammed it on Lin Xian's back. A deafening sound was heard. However, Lin Xian's body only swayed a little. Then, with a backhand punch, he sent the centaur flying. He was so strong. When the other experts saw this, their brows furrowed tightly. These masters from the Dark Hall were very terrifying. The burly man from before was called the King of Corrosion. The water from the yellow spring on his body could corrode everything. It could even melt Saint Ice. The centaur who sneaked up on him was equally terrifying. It had a powerful bloodline. It was the legendary Hell Horse. No one would be able to withstand a single kick, but now the other party could withstand it. How strong was the other party's body? Chapter 57-51. At this moment, the injured golden-eyed man rushed over again. His eyes also shot out a terrifying light that turned into a sharp sword. The 3 experts surrounded Lin Xian. The heavenly path of reincarnation summoned the heavenly realm. Lin Xian's cold voice sounded. In the sky, a pair of hands appeared in the eyes of the 6 paths of reincarnation and slammed down. The golden-eyed man's soul was instantly shattered. He screamed and died. Heaven-defying fist. Lin Xian attacked the infernal horse and penetrated its body. As for the Carrion King, the 9 suns that were formed by the 9 suns' divine flame had turned into ashes. In the blink of an eye, the 3 experts had all died. How could he be so powerful? The experts of the Dark Hall were stunned. The people of the other halls were also shocked. This person had a powerful eye technique, a terrifying physique, and a magical flame. It was really shocking. Damn it. How dare you kill my experts? I'll make you suffer a fate worse than death. In the distance, the Dark Hall Master, who was fighting, shouted angrily. He sent his opponent flying with a palm. Then he quickly charged over. His palm was like a huge mountain from hell, pressing down from the sky. The people of the underworld hall around him were all sent flying. I'll help you. Another figure walked over with a monstrous killing intent. He was the hall master of the Bloody Massacre Hall. This was because he could see that although the kid in front of him was powerful, his strength was only at the level of the 7-crown king. He was the 8-crown king. Therefore, it was easy for him to kill his opponent. This merit was his. The Dark Hall Master shouted angrily, "Get lost! This is my prey." He quickly rushed over. The Bloody Massacre Hall Master also slashed out a blood-colored long saber. A terrifying divine ability descended from the sky. "Oh no, kid, quickly dodge. Otherwise I can't save you," the underworld child shouted angrily in the distance. Although he was the crown prince, these two top-notch almighties were not people that he could contend against. "You want to kill me with just the two of you?" Lin Xian snorted coldly. A cold, killing intent appeared in his eyes. Did they really think that he was easy to kill? With a wave of his hand, the Cosmos Ring appeared in his hand. Then he charged toward the Dark Hall Master. A golden ray of light pierced through the 9 heavens. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out. A miserable shriek was heard, and the Dark Hall Master's body suddenly shattered into pieces, scattering all over the ground. The golden light returned to Lin Xian's hand. It was the Universe Ring. What was going on? The Bloody Massacre Hall Master, who was in the middle of attacking, stopped. The other halls were also stunned. Countless experts stared with their eyes wide open. The underworld child's pupils shrank as well. He discovered that the Dark Hall Master was dead. That was the 8-crown king, yet he had been killed in a single move. What did this brat have? Was it an extreme weapon? No, he didn't feel the might of the extreme Tao. What the hell was that? He was going crazy. He didn't expect the other party to have such a trump card. The others were even more terrified. The Bloody Massacre Hall leader's face was extremely pale. Damn it. He turned around and retreated. He had originally thought that he would be able to steal the credit, but now it seemed that it was very likely that he would lose his life. The Hall Master, the people of the Dark Hall, roared crazily. They wanted to rush over. However, they were blocked by the people of the Underworld God Hall. Lin Xian clenched his fist and punched at the Bloody Massacre Hall Master. The Bloody Massacre Hall Master turned around and punched out. The two collided, and he was forced back. What a powerful force. However, it was impossible for the other party to kill him instantly. I don't believe that you can still use a second move. He grinned sinisterly and rushed over. An extremely terrifying sea of blood appeared on his body, as if the blood god had descended. Divine ability, blood country suppression. A voice sounded. Lin Xian shouted coldly, "Xiao Bai, it's up to you." He put away the Universe Ring. At the same time, Xiao Bai dug out the green-skinned gourd from the sword world and flew out. It clapped its little paws. "Baby, please turn around." The green-skinned gourd split open, and a sword light flew out, illuminating the 9 heavens and 10 lands. In the next moment, the entire blood country was split into 2 halves. The Bloody Massacre Hall Master also stopped, and a bloody line appeared on his neck. Then his head rolled and fell to the ground. He was killed in one move. Everyone was stunned. The other experts sucked in a deep breath as they went mad. The people of the Bloody Massacre Hall were also stunned. It was another peerless weapon. What on earth was it? Lin Xian was also surprised. He knew about this green-skinned gourd. It was something that Xiao Bai had obtained by chance. The sword inside was very powerful. However, it was impossible to kill the 8-crown king. However, after being buried in the sword world for a period of time, its power had increased by so much. Was this the ancient land? It contained a mysterious and unfathomable power. After one strike, the green-skinned gourd recovered, and the light on it dimmed. Xiao Bai put it away happily. He entered the sword world, dug a hole again, and buried it. Lin Xian turned around and looked around. He said coldly, "Whoever is still not convinced, come and accept your death." Lin Xian had shocked countless powerhouses by himself. At this moment, no one dared to step forward. Lin Xian laughed. "You really are ants. You are all trash. Damn it, let's go together and kill him. The powerhouses of the Bloody Massacre Hall roared crazily. They covered the sky and covered the earth as they rushed over. The other hall masters also said, "Let's all attack. This kid is too strange." In an instant, another group of people rushed over in an overwhelming manner. Underworld Child also shouted angrily, "Everyone from the Underworld God Hall, move out." The remaining powerhouses also rushed up and killed in all directions. However, there were many people in the 7 halls. Many of them instantly rushed to Lin Xian's side. Lin Xian waved his sleeve. The Cosmos Sword Formation. Heaven and earth were all swords. The immortal technique seed in his left eye spread out. The Cosmos Sword Formation he used was an immortal technique that seized the fortune of heaven and earth. An endless amount of sword chi gushed out. Glorious heaven and earth. Wherever it passed, the experts of the Yellow Spring sect were pierced and fell one after another. Between heaven and earth, there was a sea of blood, which was terrifying. The people of the Bloody Massacre Hall roared together. Divine power, blood-sucking great technique. They actually absorbed all the blood in the sky. Then, an extremely terrifying monstrous beast appeared above their heads. It was the blood demon, which was very terrifying. A claw came down like a mountain, covering the sky and earth. The blood of the people around all surged. It was too powerful. The Bloody Massacre Hall was related to blood. The more blood they absorbed, the stronger they became. Go to hell. They were going to avenge their hallmaster. A palm passed through the 9 heavens and fell from the sky, slapping toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian looked up at the sky. The divine fire between his eyebrows was always blooming with endless light. He soared into the sky and waved his fist. Divine power, heaven-defying strike. The heaven-defying fist technique, with a shocking long arc, turned into an eternal light. It collided with the blood demon's palm. A terrifying sound rang out. The blood-colored palm was pierced through. This heaven-defying power directly smashed tens of thousands of powerhouses of the Bloody Massacre Hall into pieces. Kill! Lin Xian roared to the sky. The more he fought, the braver he became. He swept in all directions, as if he had entered a no-man's land. The powerhouses of the other halls all targeted Lin Xian. They rushed over in an overwhelming manner. At this time, he summoned the Samsara Sword. In the face of hundreds of thousands of powerhouses, Lin Xian used his Rinnegan. Between heaven and earth, the phantom of the Samsara Sword appeared. With a slash of the sword, hundreds of thousands of powerhouses fell in droves. The surrounding people were all going crazy. Even the remaining hall masters had pale faces. Among them, there was a woman. She was wearing a dark moon battle robe and said coldly, "He has used all his trump cards. I don't think he has much strength left. Hurry up and do it." After speaking, she took the initiative to rush over. A dark moon scepter appeared in her hand. As she waved it, it brought up black moonlight. It cut open heaven and earth. Chapter 5752. Lin Xian used the power of his physique to block the attack. Flames danced, and his arm went numb. The other party had such a powerful ability. The Dark Moon Hall Master was even more shocked. This attack didn't hurt the other party. What kind of physique was this? It was really a peerless treasure body. If I can get your physique, I will be invincible and have no weakness. A cold voice came from the void. Then, a terrifying soul power poured into Lin Xian's mind. He wanted to seize Lin Xian's body. This was the Hall Master of the Soul Devourer Hall. Lin Xian snorted coldly. In the next moment, the power of reincarnation erupted in front of his eyes to resist. Yet, you were still able to block it and unleash such a terrifying soul sword. Your power actually still exists. The Hall Master of the Soul Hall was extremely surprised. So what? You will definitely die. 2 more figures appeared. One of them was tall and was surrounded by a black storm. He released a black storm. The other one crawled like a lizard, but he had a human head and the tail of a python. In the end, he swung a meteor hammer fiercely. It hit Lin Xian's body. The 2 attacked and sent Lin Xian flying. Boom! The mountain range in the distance was penetrated. Countless boulders rolled down and enveloped Lin Xian. Dust and fog filled the air, shaking the heavens and the earth. Countless black holes were floating. They hit. This time, the 4 Hall Masters attacked together. Each of them had the power of the 8-crown king. The 4 of them attacked together, and they were enough to kill any powerhouse. Not good. Underworld Child's face was also ugly. He was fighting with the others in the 7 halls and didn't have the strength to support Lin Xian. When he saw this scene, he was also shocked. This kid wouldn't be killed, right? If that was the case, the situation would be troublesome. Next, he would be the unlucky one. He wanted to escape. He even wanted to summon his father. The 4 Hall Masters stood in the sky and sneered. One of them was killed. What a troublesome opponent. They didn't expect that there would be such a powerful figure in the younger generation. So what? Didn't he die in the end? He was next. They stared at the Underworld Child. Dark Moon Hall Master called out, "Your Highness, you'd better be obedient and hand over the thing. Otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless." Damn it. Underworld Child's face was cold and gloomy. The other experts of the Dark Hall also quickly returned to protect His Highness. They returned to Underworld Child's side, as if they were facing a great enemy. "Since you're so stubborn, then let's do it." The Mulch Hall Master was brimming with killing intent. This time, they had to get the Minotaur statue. Just as they were about to make a move, a rumbling sound came from the distant ruins. The nearby boulders were sent flying, and a figure stood up. Everyone turned to look. The pupils of the 4 Hall Masters shrank. "You're still alive?" Underworld Child also exclaimed. "That's great." They saw Lin Xian stand up. 2 cracks appeared on his back. However, he was recovering quickly. Although the blood was still dripping, the aura seemed to have become stronger. After withstanding 2 peerless divine abilities, he only suffered such minor injuries. The 2 Hall Masters were stunned. Just now, that sneak attack was enough to kill any 8-crown king. This guy was too strange. Let's attack together and kill him. The 4 Hall Masters rose into the air again. They felt that the other party was even more terrifying than the Crown Prince. They would never allow such a person to live. Kill him. The Minotaur statue was in his hands. For angry roars sounded. Between heaven and earth, for peerless divine abilities appeared. There was a terrifying storm and a terrifying meteor. The black moonlight seemed to be able to cover the entire world. There was also an extremely strange soul attack. Divine ability, fury of the wind, divine ability, falling meteor, divine ability, dark moon descends, divine ability, soul control heaven and earth. The power of the 4 peerless divine abilities erupted together, terrifying everyone. No one could block it, unless it was the 9-crown king. Could this kid in front of them resist it? Wherever the 4 divine abilities passed, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Nothing could resist it. In an instant, they arrived in front of Lin Xian. This guy didn't dodge. Did he want to resist it head-on? The Underworld Child went crazy in the distance. The people of the Underworld God Hall also frowned. They had never seen such an arrogant person. Could it be that this kid really thought that he could stand shoulder to shoulder with the 9-crown king? A sword chi appeared in Lin Xian's hand. He said in a deep voice, "Self-created sword technique. Heaven-defying sword. The first sword, Wind Slayer." The sword light flashed, and a huge sword chi pierced through heaven and earth, slashing forward. The black storm was hit by the slash, and it kept shaking. Then, it was mercilessly torn apart. The serene wind hall master didn't have time to escape, and was split in half. The second sword, Polar Star, Lin Xian stabbed out with his sword, and it seemed to turn into the most dazzling starlight, colliding with the meteor hammer. A deafening sound was heard. The meteor hammer was pierced by the sword. The earth demon, hall master, let out a miserable cry. Its tail was cut. Its entire body was nailed in the void. The third sword, Flying Moon, Lin Xian's sword chi swept out, turning into a half-moon in front of him. The laws condensed on it, and the heaven-defying power rotated rapidly. This sword and the dark moon descending collided, and the mountains and rivers changed color. The sky collapsed, and the earth cracked. The entire dark moon world was mercilessly split apart. The dark moon hall master was cut in half by the sword chi. The two halves of his body were incomparably miserable. The fourth sword, Broken Soul. As the voice fell, there was no sword chi. While everyone was in a daze, the soul hall master clutched his head and screamed. His soul had been split open. This last sword was actually without a trace. It was extremely strange. 4 sword moves seriously injured the 4 hall masters. Countless people were stunned. These 4 hall masters were all 8 crown kings. The 4 of them joined forces, but they couldn't do anything to the other party. The sword chi in Lin Xian's hand disappeared, but his eyes lit up. The heaven-defying sword technique. So that's how it is. I understand. This was the sword technique that Lin Xian created himself, which he called the heaven-defying sword technique. It was different from the Qianquan sword technique. The Qianquan sword technique used flowers and trees as swords. It walked the path of righteousness. However, the heaven-defying sword technique was different. The heaven-defying sword technique fully displayed the advantage of the great dragon sword soul. Whatever divine ability or immortal technique his opponent used, he would use the same divine ability or immortal technique. He returned the attack with an even more terrifying power. This was the heaven-defying sword technique. Kill. After seriously injuring the 4 hall masters, Lin Xian kept attacking. This time, he used the Qianquan sword technique. Everything in the world was a sword, and the broken weapons turned into terrifying sword lights. They pierced through the powerhouses of the Dark Moon Hall. The blood in the sky turned into blood swords and pierced through the powerhouses of the Dark Moon Hall. The surrounding storm turned into storm swords and attacked the people of the Ghostly Wind Hall. The stones that fell from the mountains in the distance also turned into giant stone swords and joined the battle. The whole world seemed to have turned into a peerless sword formation. Everything could be turned into sword chi and used by Lin Xian. Is this guy still human? Damn it. How can he be so powerful? Oh no, they are really crazy. Should we retreat? Some people couldn't help it. They couldn't resist at all. The 4 hall masters were injured and looked pale. They gathered together and discussed with each other. The Dark Moon Hall master said, "Don't worry, there is still one person who hasn't made a move yet." Chapter 57-53. The 4 hall masters, including the 2 who were killed before, only had 6 people left. There was still one who hadn't appeared yet. Therefore, they still had a chance. Lin Xian didn't know about the last hall master. The eyes of the ox head in Lin Xian's hand emitted a terrifying light. Lin Xian injected a trace of the power of an extreme weapon into it. The ox head emitted a terrifying radiance and turned into an ancient phantom, roaring towards the sky. It roared and rushed into the Bridge of Helplessness. The Bridge of Helplessness had gone through a great battle. The surrounding void cracked, and the ground shattered. Only the Bridge of Helplessness was intact. However, at this moment, the Bridge of Helplessness shook violently. Endless cracks appeared on it. Not good. The bridge is broken. Retreat quickly. The other soared into the sky. Lin Xian also paid close attention. The cracks appeared, and then the fragments fell. However, there was no water on the bridge. It seemed that the outer layer had shattered. Then his true face appeared. A rumbling sound rang out, and a terrifying aura of death spread in all directions. The aura on the bridge of helplessness was too terrifying. When it appeared, it was like a sleeping giant beast that was coiling above the ground. The surrounding ground cracked. After the bridge of helplessness appeared, it spread for thousands of miles. There seemed to be no end in sight. 3 great Tao runes condensed on the bridge, forming the words Bridge of Helplessness. At the end of the Bridge of Helplessness was a stone tablet. It was hidden in the fog. It seemed to be an illusion, but it also seemed to be real. Could it be the real, wordless heavenly steel? Countless people looked into the distance. Their eyes shone. The 4 hall masters were overjoyed. They really found it. Underworld Child also sucked in a breath of cold air. He led the experts of the Underworld God Hall to the Bridge of Helplessness. Legend had it that the Bridge of Helplessness of Hell was extremely terrifying. In the entire Bridge of Helplessness, one could only stand on the bridge. On both sides of the bridge was an endless abyss. After falling, one would never be able to reincarnate. Was this the real Bridge of Helplessness? It was indeed mysterious. Lin Xian's lips curled up. He also descended. The people from the other 7 halls also descended. However, just as they landed on the Bridge of Helplessness, everyone felt their scalps go numb. They could sense an extremely strong aura of death passing through their bodies from the soles of their feet. It was as if he wanted to turn them into bones. The people from the other halls swallowed their saliva. Even though they were members of the Yellow Spring sect, they were still able to defeat the Yellow Spring sect. However, they were living beings after all. What they cultivated was only the laws of hell. They were not truly inanimate objects. At that moment, the threat posed by the aura of death was simply too great. It was not only the Yellow Spring sect. The people from the Underworld God Hall were the same. Even the Underworld Child let out a furious roar as he activated his imperial bloodline with all his might to defend himself. The 4 hall masters all took out their most powerful divine abilities. The Dark Moon Division Master said, "Is this the real Naya Bridge?" It was really too terrifying. What we should be standing on should be death on the Naraka Bridge. In the legends, after crossing the Naraka Bridge, one could enter Samsara. The side, where the wordless heavenly steel was stored, should have a powerful life force. Go over quickly. These people moved quickly. However, the further they went, the more terrifying the aura of death became. In the end, they could not even move an inch. The masters from the Underworld God Hall were also shocked. That's not right. Rumor has it that Meng Pe is on the Bridge of Helplessness. At this moment, the Bridge of Helplessness was at the front line. Where did Meng Pe go? The Underworld Child said, "I heard from my father that Meng Pe, Oxhead, and Horseface were all masters of the primordial age. It had been more than 1,000,000 years since the primordial age. These people had long disappeared. Don't think too much. Get the wordless heavenly steel first." These people also worked hard to move forward. Suddenly, several figures from the Underworld God Hall beside the Underworld Child fell with a plop. Their faces were filled with pain. What was going on? Was the aura of death too terrifying? No, they did not take away their life force. Moreover, their bodies were purple. Could it be that they were poisoned? The masters from the Underworld God Hall narrowed their eyes when they saw this. In the next moment, they checked their bodies. Not good. They cried out in alarm. "We're poisoned. Your Highness, use the laws to protect us." But it was useless. It was too late. Even the Underworld Child's body was shaking. He felt dizzy, as if his body was about to rot. His internal organs were about to shatter. block it. He activated the bloodline of the Underworld Emperor to keep himself from fainting. However, a large number of the experts around him had fainted, and it was still going on. Damn it, what was going on? Why? The people from the Yellow Spring sect were fine. The Underworld God Hall was affected, but none of the people from the Yellow Spring sect fell, because it was one of their people who did it. Lin Xian walked over with a frown on his face. The other party had hidden their strength well. The person who ran away was definitely the Eight-Crown King, and an extremely strange one at that. Ha ha! It seemed that the Underworld God Hall had made a move. The 4 hall masters on the other side laughed. The people from the other halls were also delighted. The people from the Spirit Fog Hall said coldly, "You dare to go against us? You don't know what's good for you. Once our hall master makes a move, you will all fall. Not good. There's one more person." The Underworld child's face turned ugly. The other masters who had fallen on the ground also shouted angrily, "Your Highness, run, run." Now that they were seriously injured, they could not fight against the other party at all. "Who is it? Come out." The Underworld child used his bloodline to block the attack as he shouted madly. Lin Xian, who was next to him, was very quiet. At this moment, mist filled the air behind Lin Xian. A pair of hands appeared and grabbed the other party's shoulders. Then an illusory face appeared beside Lin Xian's ear. She said softly, "I did it. I am the hall master of the Spirit Mist Hall. The moment the bridge of helplessness appeared, I took advantage of your carelessness and let down your guard. I released my mist. My mist is in the water of the Yellow Spring. After 6,000 years of refinement, it has extremely terrifying power. Once inhaled, it will be impossible to resist. Young man, do you have any last words? Leave them." At first, the illusory face was a beautiful face. Then, it turned into the face of a demon, laughing hideously. He pounced on Lin Xian fiercely. Boom! Demonic chi suddenly spread out from Lin Xian's body. He no longer suppressed the demonic shadow. The demon god's phantom rushed out in an instant. With a palm strike, it sent the clouds in the sky flying. The pupils of the Spirit Mist Hall master constricted. He stood there in a daze. Impossible? He felt that his life was disappearing. What was that black shadow? How could it kill him directly? Wasn't this young man poisoned? He shouldn't be able to use his power anymore. But why? Everything was beyond his expectation. He fell to the ground, unable to believe it. In the end, he died in despair. With the death of the Spirit Mist Hall Master, those who were poisoned also recovered. They stood up from the ground, shocked. I really recovered. Lin Gongzi was too terrifying. The masters of the Underworld God Hall were shocked. The Underworld child was also stunned. Now, he finally knew why Lin Xian was his father's honored guest, because the other party was really too heaven-defying. Chapter 57-54. The people of the Yellow Spring sect were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Their greatest trump card, the Spirit Mist Hall Master, had fallen just like that. This guy was too terrifying. His strength was far beyond the Hall Masters. Could it be that the core elders of the Yellow Spring sect had to come to suppress him? Why do I feel that even the core elders can't suppress him? Because he has too many trump cards in his hand. Damn it, I thought that the most difficult one to deal with would be the Underworld child. I didn't expect it to be this person. The 4 Hall Masters gritted their teeth. They were extremely frightened. They couldn't wait any longer. They had to inform the Great Emperor. The wordless steel had already appeared, and they couldn't do anything about it. They could only ask the Yellow Spring Great Emperor for help. Thinking of this, the 4 of them joined forces and sent a terrifying message to the 9 heavens. Lin Xian raised his head. His reincarnation eye exploded, emitting a terrifying light that shrouded the world. That message had actually been blocked. Not good. Everyone, let's attack together. The four hall masters roared, crazily. The people behind quickly charged over. A great battle broke out in an instant. They finally sent the message. The four of them heaved a sigh of relief. All right, let's see how this kid will die when their great emperor comes. Not good. The faces of the people of the underworld god hall changed drastically. The underworld child also hurriedly sent a message to his father. Only a great emperor could resist a great emperor. In the underworld god hall, the underworld emperor stood up after receiving the message. An incomparably resplendent light burst out from his eyes. Was it time to make a move? He soared into the sky and flew into the distance. On the other side, the Yellow Spring great emperor of the Yellow Spring Hall let out a long roar. Great. I've finally found the wordless steel. I must get it before the other two great emperors. He tore open the void and transformed it into endless water of the Yellow Spring, rushing over quickly. The speed of a great emperor was extremely fast. In an instant, he quickly arrived near the Bridge of Helplessness. However, at this moment, two chains appeared in the void and shrouded him. They directly brought him back. He smashed through the endless void and arrived at a remote place in hell. Who dares to plot against me? The Yellow Spring great emperor roared crazily. Old friend, why are you in such a hurry? Where are you going? Emperor Ming walked out and said with a smile. The Yellow Spring Emperor's face turned cold. It's you. You're here to stop me just for the wordless heavenly steel, right? Aren't you afraid that the Bone Sovereign will take advantage of this opportunity to attack? I've already set up an array formation at the White Bone Cave. As long as the Bone Emperor moves, I will be able to sense it. However, the Bone Emperor did not head towards the Bridge of Helplessness. Instead, he left early. I don't know, and I don't care where he went. All I have to do is stop you. Damn it. The Yellow Spring Emperor's expression changed. You already knew about the clues to the wordless heavenly steel. He was anxious. This way, he would be at a disadvantage. Get out of here. He unleashed the terrifying power of Huang Quan that swept out in all directions. However, they were all blocked by Mingdi. It's impossible for you to walk in front of me. Moreover, those who were fighting for the wordless heavenly steel were all existences below the ground. Those people are just ants. They are not worthy of us taking action. Why don't we just let them fight among themselves? Get lost. The Yellow Spring monarch roared crazily, shattering the 9 heavens. The entire infernal realm seemed to be trembling. The anger of a monarch was absolutely terrifying to the extreme. At this moment, countless clans in the infernal realm were prostrating themselves on the ground. They could feel a deva roaring in the 9 heavens. The power almost made them faint. The ground was angry. Who dared to anger a monarch? The Yellow Spring Emperor's expression was cold. If the Yellow Spring sect had the upper hand, he would not have to do anything. Now that those people were asking for help, it meant that the Yellow Spring sect was in great danger. If the monarch obtained the item, it would be troublesome. However, no matter how strong he was only evenly matched with Ming Di. It would be easy for the monarch to restrain him. You will regret this, Ming Di. Although I won't do anything, the core elders of the Yellow Spring sect will. I'd like to see what your son will do then. Kill the son who blames me for teaching you. Don't worry, you won't be able to kill him. There was confidence in Ming Di's eyes. It was not confidence in his name. Instead, it was confidence in Lin Xian. With the other party's trump cards, the Yellow Spring sect might not be able to do anything to him. The two monarchs kept each other in check. Neither of them could advance. However, the Bridge of Helplessness still came. A group of experts came. They were the elders of the Yellow Spring sect. There were not many of them, but their strength was even more terrifying than the hall masters. There were also experts from the underworld god hall who came to stop them. However, the first to arrive were the 3 elders of the Yellow Spring sect. They were also 8 crown champions. However, their strength was much more terrifying than the 4 hall masters. The 3 of them stood in the sky, shattering the mountains and rivers below. Many people coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Just this aura alone was enough to make them unable to resist. Greetings, elders. The people of the Yellow Spring sect were wild with joy when they saw them. Elders, please kill this kid. One of the elders wore a bracelet on his hand. He sent out a palm strike. This palm strike seemed to pierce through the universe. The experts of the underworld god hall felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They were sent flying by this palm wind. They coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. The underworld child's expression changed drastically. The hand of the Yellow Spring. Lin Gongzi, be careful. There's a terrifying saint artifact above. Boom. The hand of the Yellow Spring pressed down with supreme power, shaking heaven and earth as it enveloped Lin Xian. This kid is dead for sure. However, Lin Xian raised his head to the sky and roared. His body was actually growing larger. He turned into a 1,000-meter-tall giant. The flames on his body kept jumping. Suns revolved around the 9-yang divine body. Although he had not cultivated it to greater mastery, it was already extremely terrifying. Among them, there were 7 real suns that revolved between heaven and earth. The flames, which were as strong as the sun, caused the forests in all regions to go crazy. Even the people of the underworld god hall frantically retreated. This was a power that restrained them. 9-yang divine fist, 9 suns descend. When Lin Xian punched out, 9 suns revolved around his fist, dancing wildly in the air. 7 real suns and 2 illusory suns collided with the hand of the Yellow Spring. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Violent power swept across all directions. Everyone frantically retreated. Some of the experts of the Yellow Spring sect were too slow. They were pierced by the 9-yang divine fire and turned into ashes. A shattering sound came from the sky. The hand of the Yellow Spring was charred black. It was enveloped by the 9-yang divine fire and was severely injured. The elder who attacked also let out a cold snort, and one of his arms disappeared without a trace. He was extremely shocked. This young man was so powerful that he could fight someone 2 levels above him. This was something that even the crown prince might not be able to do. Let's attack together. Upon seeing this, the 2 old men behind him walked up to him. One of them had terrifying white lightning on his body. The other took out a long spear that emitted a cold aura. An extremely terrifying light flickered on the long spear. He aimed it at Lin Xian. The 3 core elders were going to attack together. Chapter 57-55. When Underworld Child saw this scene, his scalp went numb. Although he was an imperial prince and had the inheritance of a great emperor, he was only the 6-crown king after all. It was very difficult for him to fight against one of these core elders. The reason for that was because these elders had all woken up from their deep slumber after countless years. They were people from tens of thousands of years ago, or even hundreds of thousands of years ago. They were definitely terrifying. One of them was already terrifying, let alone 3 of them attacking together. Divine ability, netherworld heaven-destroying hand. Divine ability, destructive hell thunder. Divine ability, netherworld spear. The 3 core elders used their peerless divine abilities. Terrifying attacks came from all directions, enveloping Lin Xian. This power was really too terrifying. There was no way to resist it at all. Most likely, only the 9-crown king would be able to withstand it. Any 8-crown king would definitely die in such a situation, not to mention Lin Xian, who was only the 6-crown king. divine ability, Nine Suns Heaven Opening Fist. Lin Xian waved his fist again, carrying the power of the purest yang as he charged toward the netherworld heaven-destroying hand. At the same time, he slashed out with his sword. The Qianquan sword used all things as a sword. The shattered weapons around him quickly condensed, turning into a peerless divine sword that charged toward the netherworld spear. An earth-shattering explosion sounded. Tens of thousands of black holes appeared between heaven and earth, and violent winds swept across. The terrifying, destructive hell, thunder broke out of the encirclement and arrived in front of Lin Xian. Go to hell. The black-clothed elder's expression was cold. Lin Xian opened his mouth, and the yin-yang energy flew out, drawing a taiji diagram that rotated between heaven and earth. It blocked the destructive lightning. Slash! He roared, and his fighting spirit soared into the sky. The dragon soul in his body roared toward the sky. Lin Xian soared into the sky and blocked the three peerless divine abilities. He was going to fight back. No matter how strong you are, so what? My Tao is a heaven-defying Tao. Heaven-defying fist. He quickly charged toward Elder Netherworld. After the other party's netherworld indestructible hand was blocked by the Nine Suns' divine fist, he faced the heaven-defying fist again. Although this fist did not have the purest yang energy, it contained a heaven-defying power. This aura seemed to want to tear the sky apart. Get out of my sight. That expert roared madly. However, before this punch, his body was mercilessly torn apart like a piece of paper. Blood rained down from the sky. A dragon shadow flickered beneath Lin Xian's feet as he turned to face the second elder. Heaven-defying sword technique, sort of destructive lightning. Lin Xian had just comprehended this sword art, and it was different from the heaven-defying fist. The heaven-defying fist carried an unyielding power. As for the heaven-defying sword law, it was a sword art that could cause the enemy to collapse. He was using the same power as his enemy, but he was 10 times stronger than his enemy. A terrifying bolt of sword chi appeared in Lin Xian's hand, transforming into a thunder god's sword. With a slash of his sword, he split apart the destructive lightning and split the lightning elder's body apart. That elder didn't dare to believe that his opponent was capable of using such a sword technique. In the blink of an eye, the two elders were severely injured. The third elder's expression changed. He hurriedly waved his underworld spear to defend himself. Can you defend against it? 6 paths of reincarnation. Summon the heavenly realm. A pair of hands flew out from a mysterious eye. This time, half of a figure appeared. The jade-like hand slapped down and directly shattered the soul of the third elder. This time, he managed to kill an expert. Lin Xian's face was pale. The 3 attacks had consumed a lot of his energy. However, he had the sword world behind him, so he wasn't afraid of the consumption of energy. The people around him had all gone crazy. 3 moves, 1 dead and 2 seriously injured. What kind of power was this? Who exactly are you? The 2 injured elders roared crazily. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Go to hell and ask the king of hell. The immortal energy in his left eye suddenly jumped. Immortal technique, taiji transformation of yin and yang. The taiji diagram floated above Lin Xian's left eye and fused with the immortal energy seed. In an instant, a yin and yang aura surged out and turned into 2 great gods. One was the yang god, the other was the yin god. After they came out, they charged toward the 2 elders. Lin Xian had used similar attacks before, including now with the power of the immortal energy seed. Their power had increased exponentially. It was as if 2 gods had really appeared. The 2 elders were originally seriously injured, but at this moment, they were also suppressed. They shouted crazily, "Why aren't you attacking yet? Haven't the reinforcements arrived yet?" The 4 hall masters hurriedly led their people to attack. The underworld god hall was not to be trifled with. More and more people arrived. However, at this moment, 7 more terrifying auras descended from the sky. Another 7 elders appeared. Great! The people of Yellow Springs sect finally saw hope. The 2 severely injured elders stared at Lin Xian. When we catch you later, we'll make you suffer a fate worse than death. They were murderous. Lin Xian frowned. It seemed that the power of the immortal energy seed alone was not enough to turn it into yin and yang. Since that was the case, he would create this unique technique again. With a wave of his hand, the yin and yang auras returned, and 2 huge figures stood beside him. Lin Xian grabbed, and the 2 of them turned into a taiji diagram, floating in front of him again. Lin Xian's left eye surged, and the power of the immortal energy seed fused into the black fish of the taiji diagram. The divine fire seed between his eyebrows fused into the white fish of the taiji diagram. This time, it contained the power of an immortal. It should be enough. Lin Xian wanted to create his own Tao, so everything was in the process of exploration. Go. I hope this unique technique won't disappoint me. After the taiji diagram obtained the immortal energy, it rushed forward with the power of the divine fire seed. It turned into 2 figures again. The Yin god was incomparably mysterious. He wore battle armor and was surrounded by terrifying immortal light. The other kind of supremacy had divine fire jumping and wore flame battle armor. It had the aura of the purest yang. This time, the strength of the 2 increased again. The 2 figures each had 2 swords in their hands. One was a sword of immortal light. The other was a sword of divine fire. Slash! Lin Xian shouted from behind. The 2 heavenly godlike figures raised their hands. The 2 giant swords slashed down from the sky. No! The 2 injured elders roared, crazily. In the distant void, the 7 elders also shouted angrily. How dare you? Boom! The sword chi danced, tearing everything apart. The 2 elders were cut into pieces, their bodies and souls destroyed. Damn it! The 7 elders roared crazily. The other party really dared to kill in front of them. The 7 of them attacked together, forming a terrifying and destructive force that directly shattered the 2 figures. The aura of yin and yang shattered and turned into a taiji diagram again, floating in front of Lin Xian. The light was a little dim. Lin Xian waved his sleeve and put away the taiji diagram. He stared into the distance and frowned. 7 people came. To be honest, the pressure they gave him was really great. Kid, 13 of them came, and we blocked 6 for you, Underworld Child said. The Underworld God Hall also sent out their masters. However, the Yellow Spring sect seemed to have gone crazy. The number of masters who came out far exceeded their expectations. Therefore, on their side, they could only block 6. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Can you block 6? That's enough. I'll deal with the remaining 7. When the people of the Yellow Spring sect heard this, they all went crazy. The power of the 7 great elders was several times greater than that of the previous 3 great elders. How could this kid block them? Chapter 57-56. The appearance of the 7 great elders was like the 7 gods of hell. Their presence silenced the entire battlefield. The reason for that was because those 7 people were truly too terrifying. If they worked together, they could destroy everything. These 7 people could affect the outcome of the battle. The elites of the Underworld God Hall blocked the attack, but the remaining 6 people, they still had to stop the 7 great halls. Who else could stop the other elders? Lin Xian was probably the only one who could do that. However, would Lin Xian be able to fend them off by himself? The other elders also stood there. The leader of the group was a majestic man wearing hellish armor. He said coldly, "Young man, you're too arrogant. The 7 of us have all awakened from our ancient slumber. I'm the oldest. I'm from 90,000 years ago. I'm the newest, 30,000 years old. We're far above you. What do you have to compete with us? Kneel down and submit." The cold voice sounded like the roar of a god. It shook everyone's heart. The underworld child's expression was ugly. He knew that the other elders were right. These 7 people were truly too terrifying. If he had become the 7-crown king, he might have dared to fight. Unfortunately, he was only the 6-crown king. If he had known, he would have taken out his father's extreme weapon. Perhaps it could have stopped them. In the face of such pressure, Lin Xian merely smiled. "So what if you're ancient? My Tao is a path that defies the heavens. Even the great emperors can't stop me, let alone you." The sword qi on Lin Xian's body became more and more terrifying. It raised the divine fire into fragments. He continued, "My name is Lin Xian. My title is Lin Wudi. Please remember this title. I'll be your nightmare." The 3 words Lin Wudi were like 3 divine swords that pierced into everyone's hearts. Many people's souls trembled. How confident was he? In this era of great battles, he dared to call himself invincible. Legend had it that this era was the era of gods and immortals. Countless great emperors had awakened from their slumber. For example, their Yellow Spring great emperor was a great emperor from 200,000 years ago. As for Emperor Hades, he was a great emperor from 300,000 years ago. The Bone Emperor was even more terrifying. It was said that he had been sleeping for 500,000 years. Even such an existence wouldn't dare to claim to be invincible. The young man in front of him was only 6 crown kings, yet he dared to call himself invincible? They thought it was funny, but no one could laugh. That was because Lin Xian's sword qi was too sharp. It was invincible. Just the remaining aura was enough to tear their bodies apart. The weapons in their hands seemed to be about to submit to the other party. What kind of sword light was this? What kind of person was this kid? Sword god? He was really arrogant. The 7 great elders on the other side had cold looks on their faces. "You don't deserve to be called invincible. Kill him and bring back the wordless heavenly steel." This is the order of the great emperor. The leading man took a step forward, and a destructive aura spread out from under his feet. It transformed into a destructive demonic beast that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. On the other hand, Lin Xian raised his hand, and an extreme sword qi shot out like a giant dragon, pressing the destructive demonic beast to the ground. "If you want to go there, you have to beat me. You're courting death." The 7 people on the opposite side rushed over quickly. They tore through the void like 7 bolts of lightning. With a raise of their hands, they unleashed terrifying divine powers and sword qi. Cold flames, violent lightning, and the water of the Yellow Springs filled the air. The strength of these 7 people was really too strong. They had been sleeping for tens of thousands of years so that they could shine in this era. Therefore, they wouldn't allow a young man to be arrogant in front of them. "I'm invincible." Lin Xian also rushed over. At this moment, he also went all out. The power of reincarnation in his body stirred up the power of the divine flame seed, the power of the great dragon sword. In fact, Lin Xian directly used the illusion demon scripture. This was the final battle. He madly used the demonic power of the illusion demon scripture. After this battle, he would separate from the demons. Boom! The Capricorn rolled, and the demonic shadow appeared again. Its power covered the sky and swept across the area. Lin Xian charged in front of the 7 elders alone. A great battle broke out in an instant. It was terrifying. The surrounding people all retreated. What kind of power was this? This brat would be killed in an instant, the people of the Yellow Springs sect thought. However, in the blink of an eye, time passed. Not only did Lin Xian not die, but he became more and more courageous as he fought. Was he going to fight against the 7 elders by himself? Why? Impossible? The 7 elders were also furious. They roared at the sky, feeling challenged. If they couldn't take down the other party, they would lose face. They might as well kill themselves. The laws on the 7 of them continued to erupt, and their combat strength also increased rapidly. The demonic shadow behind Lin Xian became more and more solid. This demonic shadow had killed so many powerhouses and absorbed so much power, it became extremely terrifying. With a raise of its hand, it enveloped 2 elders. As for the remaining 5, Lin Xian fought them all by himself. "I'm invincible," Lin Xian roared angrily. He used all kinds of ultimate techniques and divine powers. He created his heaven-defying technique and attacked from time to time. The 5 elders were beaten until they roared crazily and counterattacked crazily. Lin Xian was also injured. He was hit by a punch and his body was shattered. Then a white lightning bolt pierced through his body, and even his bones appeared. However, the more he fought, the braver he became. With a wave of his hand, the sword Qi was like a dragon. With a claw, he tore an elder apart. That elder's internal organs were shattered, and a bloody hole appeared on his body. He screamed and retreated. Lin Xian turned around again, and his gaze pierced through the head of another elder, like an arrow. As for his body, he received 2 more palm strikes. However, he used this force to forcefully split an elder in half. This was a difficult battle. Both sides were evenly matched, and it was like a fierce battle. It was extremely miserable, and blood pierced through the 9 heavens. These were all supreme experts. They were all super mighty figures. Every drop of blood could shatter everything. If it weren't for the mysterious bridge of helplessness, this place would have turned into an endless black hole. Damn it, Big Brother, use your trump card. The eyes of the leading armored man also burst out with an extremely cold light. In the next moment, he shouted angrily, "Yellow Spring Immortality Technique." Boom. His voice suddenly split open, and a self-destructive force swept out, charging directly at Lin Xian. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. Were these people trying to die together? He snorted coldly and slashed through heaven and earth with his sword. However, this self-destructive power was really too strong, and he was still affected. Otherwise, it wouldn't be over. The other 3 elders rushed over and roared loudly, "Yellow Spring Destruction Technique." Boom, boom, boom. 3 self-destructive forces hit Lin Xian, directly engulfing Lin Xian. Not good. Run. The underworld child also went crazy and quickly fled. The others were terrified, and their scalps went numb. For top 8 crown champions had self-destructed. This power, even 9 crown king wouldn't be able to withstand it. Lunatics. The people of the Yellow Spring sect were all lunatics. The people of the underworld temple were pale, and their bodies trembled. Great, they were dead this time. The people of the Yellow Spring sect all laughed loudly. As for the 4 elders who had self-destructed their bodies, they actually grew back in the Yellow Spring. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.